Hello and welcome to the Big League. As always, Connor Somerville joined by Aiden Silphant, and today we are back after a couple weeks off, and we're joined by Stefano Suppa. Stefano, how are you doing, man?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for inviting me on the show.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Aiden, it's been a couple weeks. How are you doing now?
Doing good. Started the online course, feeling good about it. Yeah, just trying to enjoy this lockdown that we're in somehow, some way, and hopefully we're out of it soon.
Yeah, Stefano was smart in wearing a hat. Uh, I think everybody here is desperately in need of a haircut, apart from you, Aiden, because you
Did,
got one.
did you get? It looks like you did something different with your hair today, by the way.
No, it's probably still wet from getting out of the shower like
Oh, okay. I thought it was like gel or
15 minutes
something.
ago. No.
Uh,
It's probably still wet, and by the time we finish, it'll be all over the place. Um, if you can't tell, like I got yeah,
might have to
it's
take a quick towel break in
yeah,
between.
literally. I need a haircut so badly. It's been since early December. It's getting out of hand at
Yeah.
this point.
Mine was October. Like
October.
Whoa.
You already
October.
have long hair though, don't you?
Kind of. Let's see if I can show it off here a bit.
He's got the
It's kind of
Austin
getting
Matthews
long.
flow going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten that a handful of times. But yeah, I was kind of already going long, and then they closed all the barbershops down, and I was like, oh well, looks like I don't have a choice now.
True. Very, very true. It's been, I think, an adventure for a lot of people in terms of their hair styles over the last year, really, when half our program decided to shave their heads. And yeah, it's been a time. It's been a time. We're struggling up here, but we're getting there. Vaccines are continuing to be given out, and well, hopefully we get there soon. Fingers crossed. But let's dive into this episode. Let's dive into you, and we'll dive into everything involving the sports world, including my boy Tom Wilson, who's done a bad, Jake Paul stealing a hat, and whether or not the Raptors are tanking, which we'll dive into because at this point they don't have a choice. But first off, we love asking this question to start off the show. Gets us our guests thinking, also makes them squirm a little bit, which is always fun to watch. But what is your first memory of sports, and what is your first memory of sport media?
My first memory of sports and my first memory of sport media. Okay. I feel like the first memory of sports is going to be kind of cliche for like an Ontario kid, but it's watching the Leafs on Saturday night with my dad. Just because I was raised in just a big Leafs family. Like there was no one that cheered for anyone other than the Leafs. So like I remember sitting on the living room couch in my old place and we would just watch the Leafs. That's like the first thing I can think of. Then after that, it was shortly after that my dad put me in skating lessons, and shortly after that, hockey. So I feel like those were my earliest memory of sport. In sport media specifically, or do you want when I'm like actually in the program or like leading up to the program? What do you?
Yeah, leading up.
In the program, and then just sport media in general, like whether it be
Okay.
watching TV when you're 5 or whatever.
Yeah. So leading up to the program, like I said, it was that whole thing about the Leafs on Saturday night, watching it with my dad and the rest of my family, and then going to learn how to play hockey, and I still do to this day. With the program specifically, I would say my kind of earliest memories with that were going for the interview. I remember that was pretty scary, and I saw a lot of faces there that I see now. These are like I had no idea who these people were, and now so many of them are my friends. Yeah. There was also a particular night where Joe Recupero, our program director, sent out an invite to anyone who wanted to come around and get a more in-depth and a more like intimate view of everything that was going on. So he took us through the RCC a bit more in depth. He took us into the gardens. He actually took us, the gardens. I say the gardens, into the Mattamy Athletic Center. And he took us into the studio up on the 4th floor where we do our broadcasts and our tech lab classes, our TV lab classes. And he took us up there while the Rams hockey team was playing. So I would say that night in particular is probably one of my earliest memories of the program. And I would say starting the program, definitely just regular TV lab. I also went into the program with one of my close friends from high school, which helped. It helped me to kind of just feel more comfortable because I was able to work with him as well. But TV lab, I think in that initial first year class was where I made a lot of my closer friends that I've had. And it's also generally it's a pretty small program compared to others. So especially over second year, like we had our Ram and the Rye nights, like so many of us got to know each other really well. Like we would have 40 of us there at a time sometimes. So it's a small program, and I think that's a really good thing too, because I've come to be really good friends with so many people. And even if I'm not close friends with everyone, I at least know everyone and we can all have a conversation. So I would say probably like those when we would all get together.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that. I saw it there. No, but like those nights, like everything leading up to that, and those Ram and the Rye nights, and getting to meet so many people, I think those are like some of the best memories I hold of it.
Who is
Okay,
that
cool.
friend you came into the program with?
Julian Donato.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we went to the same high school. He wasn't too fond of me when we first met, but now he's forced to like me.
when did you guys
Why?
first meet?
We met in grade 9, but like we knew of each other. But in grade 10, we ended up having like 6 out of 8 classes together, and we both started doing fantasy hockey just for fun in the same group of guys. And because we shared so many classes together, we were just always talking about it. We were pretty much just like we went to class together, we left together, because that's just how it played out. But he said I annoyed him the first little bit just because I was a really talkative guy and he was more of a quieter, kept to himself guy. But yeah, no, like it was great to go into the program with him because he's a great guy, and he's really level-headed and smart, but he also will tell you if he thinks you're wrong on a sport in a sport debate. No, but it was great to go into it with him because it just gave me a little bit more comfort just in general.
I think we should talk more about like how you got into the program now, and like the stuff that you did in high school and leading up to the interview process a little bit. So like what kind of courses were you taking in like grade 11, grade 12 to maybe try and increase your chances of getting into the program?
Oh, yeah.
First of all, I guess like when did you even find out about this sport media program, and how did you get interested in it?
It actually came from a high school teacher of mine, Mr. Camilleri. He actually, I believe, is a grad of the. No,
Not Mike Camilleri.
Tony Camilleri. I asked him that question too. No, but this teacher, this teacher, I gotta tell you, like he was a great guy. Like, he started off as one of our just our regular communication technology teachers, and I guess just to go in chronological order, I took Comtech in grade 10. And it wasn't Mr. Camilleri here. It was a different teacher, but we started to mess around with Photoshop a little bit, Premiere, Audition, all those Adobe suites, and I enjoyed it. Like it was fun. I enjoyed it more than most classes, and it was easier. And it allowed me to be a bit more creative too, which I liked. It wasn't. I was never a big math or science kid, so I did that. In my grade 11 year, I took grade 11 Comtech again, but they also offered a specific sports broadcasting class, which was communications technology, but with a sports focus. Wow. So I took that with Julian as well, and a couple other buddies, but obviously Julian is being the primary one there. That class is kind of what steered me in this direction. It kind of brought this to my attention. We did a lot of the same stuff that we do here for the most part in sport media at Ryerson, except the live stuff. We never really had the equipment or the means of really doing anything live there, because we didn't have every single sports team going at the same time. But I learned a lot about post-production there, and I find post-production is actually something that I really enjoy now. I really like editing, video, photo editing. I like messing around with clips, seeing what I can make with them, even if it's like just montage editing for fun. I enjoy that stuff. And I really started to pick up and learn about it there in that sports broadcasting class. And going back to the teacher now, Mr. Camilleri, he was just our teacher at first. And one time he called me and Julian over, and two other guys, but again, primarily me and Julian here. And it was funny because we thought we were in trouble. Like the way he called us over, we were all like, oh shit, like what did we do? And like we couldn't think about what we did. So we walk over there and we look over at the screen. He goes, I need to ask you guys a question. We go, yeah. And he goes, can you guys help me figure out how to set my lineups here on the Yahoo Fantasy? He called us over to help him figure out his lineup for that night. And me and Julian ended up yelling at each other over it because we were like, no, he's gotta bench this guy and start this guy. He's got to bench him and him. So, and that was really interesting because that kind of started this friendship with the teacher, because we would always talk about it. And he was a hardcore Habs fan. I should throw that in there.
Oh,
he was a
hardcore right there. You go.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it was one of those friendships and also rivalries that was like really good. Like we would come in and we would like get at each other and we would chirp each other, but it was with good intentions. Like it wasn't one of those nasty rivalries where it's like mean.
Yeah.
Like you would, if this was also the period in time where the Habs had like a 20-game winning streak on the Leafs.
All right.
So
like
I
on the road or something.
Yeah, something like that. And I did not hear the end of that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But no, he became a close friend, and I still keep in contact with him. Just because and he graduated from media production.
Oh wow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he graduated from media production. He actually knows Brian Withers.
Oh.
How old is he? Is he like in his late 30s?
Mid-40s, I'd say. But he knows Brian. I was talking about it. I had mentioned Brian's name, and he goes, "Oh, I graduated with him."
Wow.
Yeah, he used
That's
to be
a great connection.
Yeah, and I had mentioned it to Brian. He's like, "Oh yeah, I know him." But he also, Mr. Camilleri here, before he became a teacher, he was a producer at the Score.
Okay.
Yeah, which was great, and it's great that I met him at a teacher as a teacher, and he was great for that. But now, like, I've also, if I'm not going to get into post-production and something like that, I would be interested in trying to become a producer at some point, for live programming and whatnot. And it's great to have him there just to talk about it and get to know a little bit more, because he's played that role. So it was interesting to see how he went from just a teacher who kind of like helped me learn about this industry, and kind of, he didn't force me into it, but he definitely pushed me into it, because he said to us specifically that a lot of students take this course just because they see sports. So a lot of guys end up taking this course because they just go, oh, it's going to be a course where we talk about sports, and that's going to be it. But he said it to me and Julian. He goes, I can tell you guys have a niche for this kind of thing. You guys don't just care about the sports. You like the broadcasting side of it, the media side of it. And it's interesting because that's what they said was important to us when we interviewed for this program.
For sure.
So that was awesome. That was just to see how that all ended up playing out, and like reflecting on it was really cool. So I say that part, that class specifically, definitely helped me narrow down where I was going to apply for post-secondary. So that helped a lot. And then in grade 12, I took another communication technology class. They ended up giving me and Julian the awards for it at graduation, which was cool because we got to get the awards for that and then go right into a media program, which is just cool. It's a nice little story. And then that's how I kind of landed here. The interviews were definitely a pretty nervous point. You know, like you hear we had about 700 applicants or something like that coming into our year. If I'm wrong, maybe it was even more.
I think it's more than that.
It's usually more than that. That gets cut down for, like, I guess the people who actually do the extra stuff, and then the interviews, and then they cut it down even more.
Yeah.
So like I think it was 10% our year.
Yeah.
So 700 to like 70.
It was. I knew that. I knew that the odds were. I didn't think the odds were against me, but I knew that the odds of actually making it in, it was going to be tough. So when I got the call for the interview, I was really excited because I got good grades in high school, but I was definitely more of like a people person. Like my strengths don't lie in writing papers and doing homework and assignments. My strengths lie in communicating and being and talking to people and letting them see me as who I am. And like, not that I'm like this huge like pacifist and all that, but like I like talking to people. Like to think I'm a friendly person. Like I get along. Like I want to help out.
Yeah.
You know, so like when I found out that I got in for the interview, I was excited about that because I knew I could let that part shine.
Right.
And then after finding out that I had made it in, and then even more so made it in with Julian, was awesome because now it's like we got to take everything we learned from that grade 11 sports broadcasting class and move it here, which was dope. Like it was so cool because like it was like, and it also had made those two teachers. We also had another teacher named Mr. Basso, and he was more of like just a general media guy. But me and Julian both built a really good connection with Basso and Camilleri. And to see and show them that we both made it into a media program now, and a good one at that, it was nice. It was good because it felt like they were proud. They were both there when we graduated to hand us the awards. Like, and we built that connection with them, which was great.
That's really cool. Yeah. I had like a similar connection, but like not that like, I don't know what the right word is, but not that close of a connection. And that's really cool to see that you had two teachers that really supported you, and you and Julian both getting into the program. And it must have meant a lot to them to see two of their students get into the program. So that's really cool. I guess it must have been really beneficial, like you said, to have Julian just with you like the whole way throughout the application process as well, heading into the interviews. Did you guys end up like interviewing on the same day, or did you talk about the interview much, or like prepare with each other?
That's actually interesting. So Julian applied to the program before I did. He actually gave me the idea to apply for the program. He found it before I did, and he did his research, and then he told me about it, and I did my research and whatever. That happened about a year before we had to apply. So then we go and apply, and I get accepted I think there was 2 or 3 steps. There was like the initial application process, and then there was a supplementary thing with paperwork and the sign and like a written essay or something like that. And then came
too,
and references, and then came the interview. So I had gotten accepted for the first step and the second step about the same time as Julian did. But I heard back about my interview in like the middle of February, and it was booked for March break, the interview. So I had heard about it mid-February, let's say. I'm kind of ballparking here because it was so long ago. Julian did not hear back about his interview until the end of March break, and then went for his interview the day after. So it was really interesting because, you know, Julian had the idea of this program first, and we both applied together for it, thinking we would try to get in there together. And I had my interview booked for like a month ahead of time, and Julian didn't have anything. And that was like it was scary because like I wanted to do it with him. I didn't want to go alone.
Yeah.
Like obviously this is like, if that's how it was going to be, like it was something I was going to pursue regardless. But like, of course you want to have a friend there. So it was kind of freaky for like the first little while because we didn't think he got in. And I went into March break. Obviously we didn't text or talk too much just because we don't text too often, but we didn't talk throughout the March break. And I came back thinking like, he didn't interview. And then the first day we come back, he asks me how it went. And I'm like, oh, it went pretty good. He goes, that's good. He goes, I went and did mine too. He goes, they texted me like on like a Thursday, or no, they didn't text him, but they emailed him on the Thursday to ask him to come in for the interview on a Friday. And he ended up going to do it as well, which was great. And, but to figure that out after, and then afterwards, we both found out in about May that we had made it into the program. After that, it was great to kind of go through that whole process with it, because it's like someone to bounce ideas off of. It's someone you can rely on. It's someone you're already comfortable with. Because first year is so kind of generalized, we didn't have too many classes together. I would say we shared more classes together in second and third year. But even then, just to have someone to bounce ideas off of and someone that I was already comfortable with and could build more friendships with was really good.
Who interviewed you, and do you remember what day you interviewed?
Oh, I don't remember his name. He's not one of our professors.
Okay.
I believe his name is Dan or Mike. I can search it if you'd like.
You don't have to do that, no.
Okay.
But okay, interesting. I don't know. I guess we probably have had that guy before, and they just don't remember his name, right?
Dan
'Cause we've had a few
Berlin.
people.
It wasn't
Yeah, Dan
Berlin.
Berlin.
It wasn't Berlin.
No.
I would remember Berlin. No, he wasn't. He isn't one of our profs, though. I believe he's a program advisor.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so I haven't seen too much of him. If I see his face, I know exactly who he is. No, but I remember the interview too. Like, and he sat me down and was like, I understand you're nervous and it's healthy to be nervous because it shows that you care about this.
Yeah.
But remember that I'm just a human being too. Like, I'm not some like huge person that you need to like bow down to. Like, your job is to impress us, obviously, but don't freak out and think no. But it was helpful. Like he made it funny, which helped as well. But he also said, like, try to relax. Like, it's not the end of the world if this goes poorly. He's like, just talk how you normally would. And he was awesome for that. Like, it really helped me relax because obviously everyone's gonna feel pretty nervous and anxious going into an interview like that because it dictates what you're going to be doing for the next 4 years. But that he was really, really good. Like, he made me feel comfortable, relaxed. That was great.
So that's good. It sounds like the interview went pretty well then.
Yeah.
And obviously getting into the program and so when you found out that you got in or no?
I believe it was maybe the end of April, maybe in the May.
Okay, yeah. I think it's mostly around there, like early May for most of us, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's where I believe it landed.
Okay. So yeah, I guess where we can move to now is just like how you've been liking the program so far and like first year, how that was for you. You mentioned it a bit earlier, just having Julian is beneficial, but I guess what has been like the course that has stood out to you the most so far at Ryerson? Some of the interesting ones that you've been most interested in. Yeah.
I feel like out of all of the students you guys have spoken to in the program, a lot of us are going to say TV Lab is probably the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but like there's a reason for that, obviously. It's like, think about all the cool stuff we've done in that class. Like, first year, we did a 5-minute production, and that was scary. 5 minutes when we started was scary. And then at the end of second year, we move on to a 30-minute production. And I remember I worked with Drew Frank on that one, and we did a mini golf tournament.
Okay. Yep.
That was a wild production. That was a lot of fun because we had set up the actual last hole of the mini golf course off in the the viewing room of the Mattamy Athletic Center, just over the ice rink.
Yeah.
And that course, and that specific show, that was a lot of fun. And I'm not even focusing on going into live productions afterwards because, like I mentioned earlier, I kind of found my niche for post-production work and editing. But to do that, like, that live show was probably, if anyone asks about like the most exciting thing I've done, I think that's it. Just because the show was so exciting. Like, we were doing interviews, we had live coverage of it, and we had we had a couple students playing, obviously the golfers, but they all had like character traits. So that whole show, everything about it was a blast. Like, that was so much fun. And that kind of theme about that course being so fun carried out from first, second, and third year. This year in TV Lab, we did it all digitally. We were doing live shows from right where I'm sitting now. It was definitely interesting and more challenging because we had to learn how to pivot there a lot. Like, how having to do it all from our computer and not having, intercom already set up for us, having to get on our phones and log into Unity to be able to talk to one another while having to manage everything that's going on in our computer or wherever you're working from. That was tricky. But it was still a blast. Like, those courses, I feel like we learned so much. And it's not only that we learned so much, it's that it's fun. Like, it's really intense, especially on those live days when it's like it's go time. But those moments, those like half-hour shows, whatever it is, like, it's exciting and it's fun. You do fun stuff. The programs you're making, the shows you're doing, it's fun. You work with your friends, you work as a team. It's stressful for sure, but when it all comes together at the end, it's like a huge weight off your shoulders, but like it didn't feel like a burden.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge TV person, obviously, so I don't necessarily agree with all of that because I didn't find it fun. I found it anxiety riddling,
Oh,
but
and absolutely,
It
that's
was
the other
stressful.
thing.
it
Yeah.
just
That's the other thing too. I feel like I kind of left that behind a bit. It is very stressful. It is very
yeah.
stressful because if you feel like if you mess up, people are going to be looking at you. But I think it's
Because
important.
they are. They
Yeah.
definitely are.
Yeah. And you've got a point, and I feel like some people will, but I feel like some people also understand that mistakes happen. And it can happen to anyone. Hell, on that golf show that I was talking about before, the whole expression system, I was on graphics, the whole expression system crashed 30 seconds before we went live. Like
Jeez.
the computer crashed on me and I started screaming at Ryan Sykes saying that like it died on me, like we can't go live. And
But you
thankfully
still had to. Or
no,
yeah.
no. He put it off because like
Okay.
my screen just went like, and like the whole computer went down.
Right.
So he's like, okay. He's like, he called it off and we were able to fix that up. But like stuff like that happens. And I feel like maybe there are some people who are a bit more quick to point fingers or judge. And you're going to find that anywhere, no matter where you go in life. But I think a lot of people in our program are pretty understanding. Stuff like that can happen to anyone. Mistakes happen, bumps in the road happen. It doesn't necessarily make it any less stressful. Starting to prepare for a show, getting closer to the date and the day of and actually going live, you feel it. You feel the anxiety. It's harsh. Like it's really, really tough. But to be able to pull it together, even if it's not exactly your thing, even for myself, because I don't want to be a live production guy necessarily, but to be able to do it, and it definitely does show a lot of character.
Yeah, I think
oh, sorry,
like,
go ahead.
I just want to touch on it a little bit, just because like this past year, like just doing it all virtually, I think it kind of takes a little bit of weight off you, just because like it's a new system for everyone really, and like we all had to kind of learn the new programs and the new way around it, and dealing with the technology errors and stuff like that. So I think it was maybe slightly less stressful this year, but like also I'm just thinking now, like if it's stressful now, like imagine actually doing it in like a live environment of things like actually going live to air on like Sportsnet or TSN, where like you got so many millions of people watching. So if we can't handle this, then we're in a tough one, I think, moving forward. But also I think it depends on your role as well. That's the key thing. Because like if you're like, well, I mean, most of the roles can be pretty stressful. But I feel like maybe even talent can have like some more leeway with it. But like if you're like director, producer, AD, especially like switcher, switcher's a tough one. Like it's tough. Those are really stressful. So you just have to find the right people for the right roles and kind of, do whatever's best and put your group in the best position. But yeah, I think just advice for like people, doing production classes in the future is just like, it's going to be stressful, but like try and have as much fun with it as you can. And even if you mess up, like you're going to learn from your mistakes, and it's going to help you in the future.
To throw to the old New England Patriots way, just do your job.
Do your job.
Just do your job. Help everyone out. Be respectful. Be nice. Try to help as many people as you can, but do your job. Do your job, then things will run.
Yes.
What was your go-to lead role?
I liked graphics. I liked preparing the graphics, and I liked preparing them for the director to call when he needed them. I definitely wasn't built for being a director, or AD for that matter. To be that snappy, you've got to have a good handle on time, and your awareness needs to be through the roof.
Yeah.
Or just be good at math. One of the two.
Yeah, that too. Definitely wasn't for me. I enjoyed graphics, and I tried to stick to that for the most part.
You see, I was an AD. I'd always get stuck with the AD when we were doing lead
Oh
roles
man.
because I could do the math. I'm not good at math, period, but I could do that math fairly quickly. But yeah, like when you're mentioning like people understanding mistakes and stuff, we as a program, I think help each other out a lot. Like
Hmm.
in the TV labs, if something goes wrong, like DDR would help the AD do timing stuff if they were
Mhm.
confused or flustered, or if they noticed they made a mistake. And I think that's sort of what this program does is it really teaches you teamwork. It teaches you
Oh
to
yeah.
rely on other people, but also that it isn't always your role that you're specifically supposed to do. Sometimes you have to help other people too. And one thing that sort of sticks out to me is Andrew Quake, who we've had on the podcast, him helping out Jacob in the audio position and sort of walking him through all that and walking everybody through how other stuff works, as I mentioned with the DDR timing. But I do want to, you were the Wednesday afternoon, right? For second year?
Yeah, Wednesday from 3 to 9.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was Wednesday 9 to 3.
Uh-huh.
And I remember you guys getting, or yeah, it was 9 to 3. I remember you guys getting there like early to set all that stuff up, pre-record everything every week. That thing took a lot of work.
Oh yeah. That golf show?
Yeah.
Yeah. Drew is really ambitious with that, but like the whole thing was fun. Like preparing for the show was fun. We did commercials. Oh my god, the commercials. Oh man. We had Calvin create his own brand of cereal and we called them Calvin Clumps. And we had him knock a bowl of cereal off the desk in front of Jack. Jack was sitting there eating the cereal and we had him knock the bowl of cereal off and he comes on screen and goes, Calvin Clumps. Without the clumps, I'm in the dumps. And like we had that air during our 1 minute commercial when we could have either black on screen or we could air a commercial, and we made those and aired that. Like those were hilarious, and that goes to what you were saying before with the pre-production stuff. Like we had prepared all that stuff too, and like it was stressful and it added a lot of anxiety, but it was fun. And the preparation that goes into it, it's worth it because if it's true what they say, the profs, they say if you put the right amount of work in beforehand, you're gonna make your life a whole lot easier afterwards. If you prepare extra graphics, extra video packs, all of that stuff, and you just make sure you're well prepared for any situation, it will pay off.
Mm-hmm. I think we really saw that this semester too, this
Yeah.
year, not semester. It's already been 5 months, but this year, like having to prepare all this stuff ahead of time and the amount of technical issues. Like I was either audio or AD for, I think it was AD for a show, and the Wi-Fi on my phone cut off.
Oh,
man.
So
Yeah,
I lost
Wi-Fi's
connection.
tough. Yeah.
And when I came back in, like literally 15 seconds later, I didn't realize my mic was muted. So I was still calling the show, not knowing at all that my mic was muted. And like a couple minutes later, I realized, oh, they're saying I can't hear you to me. And I'm like, oh, this isn't good. That was, was a nightmare.
What show was that?
I don't think you were involved with it. I think it was, I think it might have been a Drew show. Oh, it was the chess. It was the chess game. The chess.
That was
game.
that one.
Yeah.
I was on that as graphics.
Yeah, I was AD. I think I lost connection to that AD.
Damn.
Yeah, that was terrible. That was the worst feeling for a guy who already hates TV.
But like, and that's the thing though. It's like, like, I don't know. Personally, it's like, how do you hold a grudge on that? It's a technical error. Your internet cut out. That could have happened to anyone.
Yeah.
And when I close the app, how am I supposed to know it mutes you when you come back in, when you're off mute? Like, it's those things where people are understanding. And I think what we put such a high, I guess, bar for us to try to get over that we sometimes forget that this is us trying to learn and us trying to get better.
Yeah.
Which is probably to our negative, but also I think our benefit, because we're taking this a lot more seriously than it probably is, and that'll prepare us for the future. But I want to know, finally, just touching on the TV lab, who are your profs throughout the 3 years?
My first year, I had Dan Berlin. I was a huge fan of Dan, still am. He's a really great guy. My second year, I had Ryan Sykes. Again,
Okay.
they're all great
Yeah.
guys. Like I can't just say it for one of them. Ryan was great, and we had Evan as our tech assistant.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, Calvin and a couple others, including myself, all got together and had went and picked something up for Ryan. I believe we got him a 2-liter bottle of whiskey or something, because Calvin was joking around with him about it one day. But we all pitched in a bit, and we picked that up for Ryan at the end of the semester from the whole class, just because like he did so much for us. He put a lot of time in.
Yeah.
So I remember all doing that, and I would happily do it again. And in third year, I had Brian Withers. And then it kind of gets mixed match just because of the way the program ended up playing out. So we did work a little bit with everyone. I worked with Karen a little bit as well.
Yeah, the chess show is Karen.
Yeah,
I know that
there
for
you
sure.
go. But no, I also had Brian, and Brian as well was like incredible guy. Like I wish we could have all pitched together to get him something too, but considering the circumstances, it's not possible. But those were my 3 profs, and all of them, like, they try so hard to like push for like our success. Like they care. Like it's evident they care. At least in my experience. And it's great. It's great to have profs like that truly care and want to see you succeed and will like show you your mistakes if you went wrong, but not make you feel bad about it.
Yeah, we have great profs here. Like Ryan, I think is one of the most like hardworking people in the program for sure. And like
Ryan
he always has
unreal.
your back. And like I remember, like I think I was on graphics a couple times, and like he would always say like come in like 2 hours before the call time, and like we'll get everything set up. And he was like there like so early in the mornings, like on production days, like even in person and online, he was always there. Evan Rolf, I think, is like kind of underestimated. Like he does so much.
He's underrated. Yeah.
As
You know
well.
what's quick funny story about Evan? I know he's a really well-known guy for lighting.
Okay.
And it's interesting because I had heard somewhere that he was in charge of all the lighting at Canada's Wonderland. I'm pretty sure you guys know what that is.
Really? Yeah.
And it's interesting because I live down the street from Canada's Wonderland. Like I live like a 5-minute walk away. And I went there one time. We go there pretty often with my family just because it's right here. And I'm pretty sure I saw him walking, like, and I called him out, but he didn't respond. Because I just wanted to see.
Hey, it's not school hours.
It's not school hours. No, but like I'm pretty sure it was him. It had to have been him. And I was like looking at all of that, and it's impressive. Like that guy, if he's in charge of all that, oh my god.
Yeah. Wow.
Like that's a big property too.
It's huge. It's massive.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking about that, like, and you brought him up, and I thought about it, like, wow, he is like that. I'm pretty sure it's him because I've heard it mentioned before that he was in charge of all that, and then to see someone that looked exactly like him there, I'm almost positive it was him. It's impressive. Like those guys are underrated.
Yeah, they don't get nearly enough credit than they should. Also, Ryan, great follow on Twitter and Instagram. Such a good follow, especially on Twitter for his sports stuff and the way he interacts with students and stuff. It's unreal.
So yeah, Evan's a technical lead at Canada's Wonderland. But wait, hold on. That was in 2013. So yeah, because he's been with Ryerson ever since. Lighting technician in 2011, and then a stage manager in 2012, head electrician in 2012, and the technical lead in 2013. Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's really impressive. Wow. Yeah.
And for all the stuff they do there, that's a lot.
I had no idea. And that's the thing with this program is a lot of the people who work here, you have no idea some of the stuff they've done, and it's unreal. Yeah. Like Sykes is probably one of the most talented and generally knowledgeable technical people on the planet. Like it's nuts what he's able to do.
It's just he knows it so naturally. Like for him, it seems like just second nature. Like it flows out of that guy's fingers, man. I'm telling you, it's magic.
He's unreal. And if he ever sees this, Ryan, we love you. You're great. I wish I had him as a prof. Unfortunately, I only had him as what do they call them?
Yeah,
Assistant, I
technical
guess.
assistants.
Yeah,
Technical
technical
Yeah,
assistants.
assistance.
same. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in this semester especially. Like he went above and beyond. I'll give him like unreal. Also, great mic. Sure, SM7B. Love that mic. He was sounded so good this semester. But let's keep going on. Let's talk a bit more about the stuff that you've done outside of school. Although we're going to start with something that's sort of affiliated with it, specifically 5 in a Game. You did a show on Spirit Live with Liam Crothers. So 4 episodes, fall 2019. How did that come about, and what did you guys sort of talk about, and how did you sort of find the entire experience working with Spirit Live?
Spirit Live is pretty good. I probably should mention before that we actually did a podcast before that with the same group of guys. It was like you said, Liam Crothers, Jack Shapiro, Calvin Eberts, Julian, and myself. And we had made the first. We did it in halfway through first year. We started a podcast called The Sports Report, and it was an hour-long podcast. We all kind of had our own roles on it. And we just talked everything sports. We would try to like a general news sports show. We would talk about the biggest events throughout the week. I think it had 7 or 8 episodes, something like that. That ended as the year concluded.
Okay.
Our experience with Spirit Live there was pretty good. Julian did most of the talks with the director of Spirit Live and whatnot, but it was good. They do try to bring a lot of student work and bring in a lot of student work and give it a platform, which is really good. And at least it helps us get off of our feet. You know, it gives us that chance to experience it. Then the following year, we took a semester off of it, and then we started 5 in a Game, and we changed it to 5 in a Game because we realized that we were just reaching too far with doing all sports news. Like it was too much to cover in an hour for one show a week. We never were able to get too deep into what we wanted to talk about. So we changed it to 5 in a Game. The reasoning behind the name
is it 5 in a game or 5 and a game?
5 and a game, but we said like 5 in a Game because it was the 5 of us doing the podcast talking about hockey and the game.
Yeah.
It was just a really clever name that we had thought of, and I loved it. I thought it was great.
Tom Wilson would love it, I think.
God damn
God.
that guy.
Wait, hold off. We'll get there.
Give me a minute. Give me a minute. No, but that one was specifically about hockey. And personally, I think we hit the nose on that one just because for the 5 of us, our most knowledgeable sport, or at least second most knowledgeable sport for some of us, was hockey. We could all much more easily dive deep into more topics there. Like I remember we had a whole talk about the concussion protocol and all that. And that was when it was at a peak of news and importance in the NHL. And like it was awesome to be able to like really discuss like all of that stuff in depth, because you can talk about that stuff like how we talk about sports here, like, but to really get into a specific topic and nonetheless record it so other people can hear it and enjoy it, it's exciting. It's fun to do. And Spirit Live, like I said before, it helps us get off the ground. And we had planned to take it farther and post it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I guess it's just called podcasts on the iOS system. But we had planned to do that, but then a mix-up happened with Spirit Live and with another podcast, and we didn't end up getting renewed, which was unfortunate because I thought we had a really good thing going. And then the pandemic hit, and we weren't able to continue it, which was a shame because I had really enjoyed doing it and it was fun. I've been kind of thinking about it the past little while that I want to get together with that same group of guys and maybe do something in 4th year. This is all just
over the summer.
Yeah, I know. You got a good point.
Just do what we're doing, basically.
Yeah, no, you're right.
We're doing anything. We're all stuck inside.
For real.
So.
No, you're absolutely right. And no, but it's fun. And you know what? Like there's so many podcasts out there now. Like, I feel like so many people are trying to get into it, and it's tough if you want to take it past school and really like make a career out of it. It's totally possible. Like, they're growing so much, but you got to find a niche. You got to have a personality, and you got to have the attitude for it. You got to have the voice for radio, as they say, or as we say in the program. Like, it's tough, and it's a commitment, but it's fun. It's exciting. Like, even joining you guys, like, I was excited when Aiden messaged me. Like, I haven't done something like this in well over a year, to just sit around and talk about sports and all that. Like, it's fun stuff. And even if like it doesn't necessarily take off right off the bat, it's still good experience. It helps you build connections. It's good experience, and it's just fun.
Yeah, we've been doing this
important.
for what? Yeah, we've been doing this for what, like 2 years at this point. And we have 15 subscribers on YouTube, like, or maybe 16. How many we're sitting at now?
Isn't it like 23, or is
it 23 now? Oh, climbing in the world.
I mean, yeah, it's 23.
23. Nice.
Yeah. No, we've been doing this for a while. Like, I was just thinking,
over 2 years.
Since first year, the second semester of first year, basically.
Winter 2019.
Like, we didn't do podcasts then, but we were doing the live shows, and then we've done it every semester since. We did it last summer and now this summer. So like we've done like over, I don't know how many episodes combined, but it's got to be at least 100, I would say. So like, we've had a lot of experience doing these.
Wow.
Yeah, we're getting, I don't know about over 100. We're getting, like, we have a lot. It's definitely over 50 for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We did 8 radio shows. It's 7 to 8 radio shows a semester. So right there, let's go 28 to be safe.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe like 70. That's still pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Stefano said, it's just like the experience. Like, even though it's like the chances of it like blowing up and like making a career out of it is like, it's hard to do that, because like it's also like, it's just Connor and I, right? Like, we don't have a team like around us to do everything, like social media, promoting everything, and we record them and upload, edit. So yeah, it's good. I think it's definitely a good idea maybe to do it over the summer, Stefano, and get the guys together again, work on something, keep busy. I think just putting out content is going to be beneficial, and it's going to look good on a resume.
And if you need any help with it, we're right here.
What a group of guys. Oh my god.
I've already
generating ideas. He's like, yeah, I got the name for it too.
The gears are flowing.
I think you keep 5 in a game. I think 5 in a game is a great name.
Yeah,
we pitched Watson. I think it was Watson.
Yeah, we've already sold on one.
Pat Talon and Rain Hernandez. We started a podcast for them, although I think they sort of paused it. I was editing it. Like, it wouldn't be the first time that somebody's re-upped a podcast since coming on this show. But again, if you want someone to edit it, hit me up. I am happy to do it. I love doing them. I already do 2 to 3 if you count the Pat Talon and Rain and Kyle thing, but they haven't done an episode in months. I should probably text them. But yeah. So look, it's just about getting experience. It's about doing something over the summer. Even if it isn't that, start a YouTube channel, rant about sports. Just getting experience.
You're right.
Is huge.
You're absolutely right. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess watch our social media channels for that in the event that we do more projects over the summer. We'll see. Some of us are busier than others and actually have jobs. Not naming any names, both of you. But
I don't have a job right now. What do you mean? Lockdown.
Okay, all right. In 3 weeks you will. How's that?
Let's hope. I want to get back to work.
Yeah.
True. That's true. You do have a job though, kind of, Stefano.
Yeah.
You work for the city of Vaughan.
Correct.
You've done a lot of stuff for them, kind of. You've had 3 different roles. You camp counselor.
That's an understatement.
Camp counselor, camp coordinator, and recreation instructor based on your LinkedIn. Have you done any other work for them? And what does that work entail?
So those are all very like overarching terms, like camp counselor, camp instructor, or coordinator, and recreation instructor. Camp counselor is pretty self-explanatory. I did that for 2 years, and I was camp specialist for 1 year, and then I was camp director for about 2 months, and then COVID hit.
Okay.
I did a bit of interviewing. I was interviewing for camp counselors, so I was working with senior staff for that. Then COVID hit, and that kind of all got swept under the floor from us. But because of that, we didn't know what was happening, and we didn't even think we were going to have an in-person camp last year. And it just so happened that they did, and they rushed us in, and I got put in a coordinator position, which is like the leader of camp, besides the people running like the building. So that was not exactly sport related, obviously, but like in a management role like that, like you're talking to parents, you're talking to really high up and important people, I guess, within your respective community, obviously. But like that was like just in terms of like managing and kind of controlling a team of people, even though it's not exactly sport related, like there's a lot to learn there. And I've had this conversation with people before. Like I've been considering trying to find a job that's more in our field over the summer. But there's a lot to learn there too, especially with talking to people and communicating, because you're working with kids, obviously, being a summer camp, but you're also working with parents, and you've got to learn how to talk to parents. You've got to learn how to communicate to them when they're upset, when they're happy, when there's something that they need dealt with. That's a skill you can take with you wherever you go, to learn how to deal with people's issues and communicate to them, and to explain to them that, you know, you care and you're not taking their issues lightly. And it may not always be you're talking to parents, but you may be talking to, you know, a customer, a consumer, or something like that. You might be talking to your boss. You need to know how to communicate with these people. That's something that like is really, really important that I've taken from there. But aside from camp, I've also done skating. I've been a skating instructor. I've been a basketball instructor. I've done a handful of other jobs. We have a bowling arena in the basement of the community center. Not a bowling arena. Oh my god, a bowling alley. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm
sure it's called bowling arena somewhere in the world. Maybe. I don't know.
Not here.
Maybe.
In my head,
arena.
maybe. In my head, it is.
Yeah, maybe.
No, but I also worked there. But I've spent a lot of time in the arena there. That's how I started at the city. I was a skating teacher, I guess you could say it in simpler terms. I was a skating teacher for like 3 or 4 years, and I worked my up to be the captain of that, in which case I was just dictating where people were going and which classes they were teaching. I did that a couple times a week. I was also a hockey instructor, a shinny instructor, recreational supervisor.
How are you a shinny instructor?
UK, listen, this is the highlight of my career at the City of Vaughan. My job is to make sure everyone paid to come play shinny, and just watch them play shinny. But the best part is that I got to play with them.
Nice.
Genius.
So I got paid. It was only 2 hours a week, unfortunately, because they only had it running once a week. But it was 2 hours a week to play hockey, and I was like, sign me up.
Basically an NHL player.
Yeah, I made it big.
Making a little bit less money, just a little bit,
just a hair less. But no, like that was kind of how I started with the city for the most part, and then it kind of moved to where it is today. And like how Aiden was kind of mentioning before, like how he hopes he's working in 3 weeks. I'm kind of on the same boat. We got laid off just because there's no like in-person programming happened. It's not safe right now. But we're talking about camp, and it's the idea of it and is being tossed around. Yeah. But yeah. Oh, and I also had a short stint at the gym upstairs of the building. We have a whole gym set up, and I had worked there for a couple months. Hopefully I can get back there too. Which that was an awesome experience.
So what haven't you done for the City of Vaughan then?
Yeah,
maybe that's like a shorter list.
There's probably a lot more, but
oh yeah, there's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
They have so many different community centers. I've worked in a couple of them, but they've got like over a dozen that I haven't even seen yet. Obviously, there's all city hall stuff too. But within the recreation field of my specific building, I think I've like at least gotten my feet wet with everything.
Nice. That's pretty good. When can we expect the mayoral bid when you follow in the footsteps of Ben Smith?
When would it be coming up? 2032? I think 2032 is a good year. I'll be done school. I'll have my time to get some experience. Yeah.
2032? All right.
Yeah, around there.
Vote Stefano Suppa in 2032 for Vaughan City Mayor.
Make it a hashtag. Hashtags
Yeah,
in the
make it a
discussion.
hashtag.
We start
Make it,
now.
Make it trending.
We start now.
He will have the best campaign video you'll ever see.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's gonna be amazing. We get all the RTA Sport Media people to help out.
Everyone's on it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What a plan.
That'd be unreal. But all right, let's finish off talking about your documentary, which Aiden you'll talk more about because you actually, I assume, watched it.
Yeah.
In class, and then we'll finish off talking sports because you're a big sports guy. We'll talk your sports first in the sports you played. As I get a call from Kipling, Saskatchewan. So
Pick that up.
no. So.
Hey, we got a vaccine for you. You want to? What is
isn't
Kipling
half
like
an hour? So as that continues to ring, well, tell us a bit about your documentary that you did this past semester with Erica, Julian, and Jai. And how is it working with Jai, who was in Malaysia, I believe, or Indonesia, for Malaysia.
Yeah.
How is it working with Jai, who's in Malaysia, 12 hours behind us for the entire semester?
That was you know what? I got to say it was tricky, but it didn't the time difference. He was 13 hours ahead of us.
Okay.
It was tricky. It wasn't too bad because we had established early on how we were going to kind of meet, what times we were going to meet. We were either going to meet early in the morning for us around 8 or 9 or around 8 or 9 at night. That way it would kind of land around 9 to 10 o'clock for him, either in the morning or at night. And the same for us. It would land around that time. And it just made the most sense. The tricky part was when we had to start doing interviews with our talent, all of which were done over Zoom, which was also kind of a learning curve because, we spend 2.5 years learning how to set up a lighting kit and position a camera and do that whole setup for an interview, and all of that just goes out the window. And what do? You turn it on a Zoom call, hit record, and you're done.
Yeah.
And like that was the best case scenario for us. But working with Jai specifically, like he's a really good guy. He brings a lot of excitement. He's a great interviewer. The way he speaks and the way he just talks to the talent, it sounds very natural. It's kind of I think for him it's kind of like it's like I said before, it's second nature. Like he's just good at it. He's just good. It flows nice. The conversation is natural. It doesn't sound robotic. Where you're just question answer. Like there's more of a back and forth going. And I don't think being in Malaysia affected him too much, that time difference. Like you could see some days he was visibly tired, and you come to expect that. But like it didn't. I don't think it interfered with us too much.
I felt so bad for him for the 3 p.m. classes.
Yeah.
When it was 3 a.m. his time. Like, it was brutal.
I felt so bad for him.
I can't believe he was up for that. And like, I don't know how much coffee he was drinking, but must have been drinking a lot there to stay up. But I would have probably just skipped, like, because actually, no, those classes weren't even recorded. So you can't even, like, you got to go to it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And TV lab too.
Ooh.
Yeah.
3 to 9.
And he was talent for a lot of it.
Yeah. It was 12 to 6.
He should get an award.
6 a.m.
He needs an award, honestly.
It's really tough. But you
know
what? I gotta say, as tough as it was for him, everyone had a lot going on throughout the production of the documentary. I had my own stuff going on within my family. I know other group members were having their own issues and challenges to deal with. That was the hardest part, staying motivated when everyone's kind of got their own shit going on.
Yeah.
And that was a huge thing that I kind of was thinking about to myself throughout a lot of the production. Like, you need to rely on these people because obviously it's four of us and this is the whole project. And Aiden, you were in the same class. There's a lot going on. Like, you need to rely on one another. You need to kind of be in each other's ear if something is due or something needs to get done, because there's a lot of deadlines. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. But at the same time, everyone's got their own shit going on.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their own issues, their own things they've got to deal with. They've got personal lives. You need to give people the benefit of the doubt. And you need to be patient. I'm a pretty organized guy and I like to have things done ahead of time. And we generally did have a lot of things done ahead of time, but like, if things weren't done, this is going to sound really controlling. If things weren't done the way how I had imagined them, maybe I'd follow up, but I wasn't pressuring anyone to get stuff done.
Yeah,
sure. You've got to give people time. You got to be patient, especially now. Like, people are stuck in their houses. They can't see their friends. They can't see family. It's tough. It's tough for everyone. You've gotta be patient. And that was one of the big things that I was thinking about while making the documentary, just to give people that time. Don't push too hard if you need something. Obviously it's important, and stress that importance, but don't get to the point where you're pushing people.
Yeah. And then, like, we haven't even talked about like your talent and like Marissa and like dealing with her schedule, I bet, right? Like, that must have been crazy, like planning when to do the interview. And then you interviewed some of her family members as well. I'm sure their schedules were, busy as well at that time. I'm curious, did you end up getting, like, I know there was footage in the documentary of her like on the track, like training. Was that footage that you shot, or was that footage that you shot all of that? Okay.
Most of it, you can kind of see all the footage that was shot on the same day. We only had one day to shoot.
As most of us did, yeah.
Yeah. We only had one day to shoot. She was out at the track at Downsview Park, if you guys know where that is.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Downsview Park. It's a pretty well-known area, at least in the general area. We had one day to shoot, and she was out there with other people preparing for the Paralympics. And her coach that was in the documentary, Bob Westman, was also out there. So it was Bob Westman, Marissa, and other completely random people training for the Paralympics, and it was challenging because we weren't allowed to film anyone else besides Bob and Marissa. Bob told us when we arrived there that we needed to keep the camera off of everyone else, and we weren't prepared for that. Like, we didn't know he was going to tell us that when we got there, and we were kind of like, oh, okay, like, we're not going to argue with him. We have to respect his wishes. Like, and those were just the rules we had to work with. But we had that one day to shoot. And the issue I didn't have an issue with it. The challenging part about it was trying to make sure the shots weren't repetitive in the editing process, because we also had some footage given to us by Marissa from her manager. We found a couple of clips online, and we also took one or two stock photos of her in the rain the day that she tore her hamstring in London. So we had to get kind of creative with where we took our footage from. But that was a tricky part. We just had that one day of shooting, and it was challenging to not make it the visual part of the documentary seem so repetitive.
I think like so many of the groups kind of struggled with that. Like, I know like my group, like, because we only had the one day of shooting too. And so like we did one interview in person, then we did another on Zoom, but it was just so tough to find clips to like go in between the interviews, because like we found that like most of the documentary was just a still video of the interview person talking. and we needed the B-roll to go along with it and tell the story. And yeah, I found, because I was finishing up the edit, Matt did a great job editing it. He was finding some B-roll and he did a great job cutting it together, but I was trying to find even more, and it's just so hard to do it. We were getting some clips from YouTube, thankfully, that Joe let us use. But yeah, it is tough to find clips that weren't too repetitive, and also clips that like make sense for what the interview people are saying as well.
Yeah, that is the toughest thing.
Because it was mostly just like fillers, like random like driving shots that we were putting in just as like a panic add to the doc. But I mean, I think all the docs turned out fantastic though. Like I was really impressed. Like our class was able to really pull it off, and Joe seemed really pleased with all of them. So what was like your biggest, I guess, takeaway? There's probably so many takeaways from this experience, like doing a doc in a pandemic. But what would be like your biggest one, I guess, that you're taking away?
The biggest one, that's tough. I could think of quite a few things.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say that you need to learn to use the shots you have in the most efficient way possible to bring out the most of it. This is more of a specific point, but Joe, when he gave us some advice following our final version of the rough cut, because we had like 3 or 4 different rough cuts that I had run by my group, and I had edited, and then I would fix it again, and we had several different versions. But what Joe mentioned was that because we have only this one day of filming, and so many of the shots are the same, or not the same, but very similar in style and in look, he goes, you need to take your best shots and milk them essentially. You need to slow them down, zoom them in, do whatever you can to make them look different, but don't be afraid to reuse a shot maybe towards the beginning and end if it's really good, and B, to kind of alter your clips. So we had a couple great shots of her kind of walking down the track, smiling and talking with her friends who were off to the side. And those shots were great. We used that when we brought in the title and when we faded to black at the very end, and slowed the shots down and zoomed them in. And it was just a great shot, even though the original shot looked nothing like that. Joe brought that up. And then that's like the kind of specific point, but the overarching point is to just, it really brings out the creative side. Like, and I'm sure you guys had to deal with the same thing when you were doing yours. Like, you're trying to find B-roll to throw over a part, and even though it might not make sense, you've got to find something that works. You can't just throw things that make zero sense.
Yeah.
In there, like you've got to find stuff that makes sense. And I think that's when we get really creative. Like, you've got to think of smart ideas. You got to think of something clever. And that was probably the biggest takeaway. Like, you really got to be creative.
Like, just going off of that point, like what Teresa's group was able to do with like the animation, like awesome. You don't have B-roll clips, so you make it yourself. Like, you make a full-on animation yourself. So that was cool.
I'm curious to know how they did that.
It's got to be like some After Effects, or probably Photoshop is involved in that.
It was incredible.
Teresa's a graphics wizard, so she probably did something.
Yeah, it was Teresa, right? And Joseph's on that team too. So
yeah, that was okay. Yeah,
that's just OP. And then but then Drew is also on the team. So
they just overstacked that one. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That team was stacked.
Yeah, they stacked themselves.
Yeah, they stacked.
It showed, like, Connor, I don't know if you saw it, but the graphics that they did, I started watching it, and I was floored. I was like, holy cow. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, it looked professionally done. And mind you, there is a certain level of professionalism to all of ours. Like, we're treating it like it's professionally done. But theirs, like, wow. That was impressive.
You had like drone shots too. Near the end of it. Yeah. Probably Joseph, maybe Drew.
I want a drone.
Yeah.
Hey, they're pretty cheap. I think you can buy them for like a couple $100.
Yeah.
Maybe not a good one, but you can buy them.
Yeah, I'll put Is your documentary on YouTube or Instagram or?
We haven't spoken about posting yet. I think everyone just needed a bit of a break after that long semester. But
For sure.
no, I'll actually, I think Erica may have posted it. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. Yeah, I can put it on in the description for people to check out if you have a link. So
Okay,
let
yeah,
me
I'll
know.
get you a link.
All right,
Yeah,
perfect.
so check out the description for that. But let's wrap up our conversation about you and everything you have to do with two things. One, first, the sports you've played and sort of that influence on you. And then two, our final question, which we haven't asked in a couple weeks or a few episodes, and I think we should.
Forgot it. It's been such a long time.
Yeah, I know.
But I got it now.
Yeah. So two sports you played, you mentioned them earlier: soccer, hockey. Obviously, hockey had the bigger influence on you.
Yeah.
But you're a goalkeeper in soccer. What level did you play at? And did you ever play against anybody who we might know?
That's a tough one. I don't think anyone we might know. I played house league throughout most of my time playing soccer. However, I was asked to try out for several rep teams, and I did go and try out and fared pretty well. Obviously, I wasn't at the level of those guys that had been already playing rep, but I was definitely holding my own. The thing about that is that happened around the age of like 10, 11, and 12, which was when I was getting more into hockey and getting better at hockey. And I had to kind of make a decision of whether or not I wanted to stick to hockey more or soccer more. And my parents always let me do both. But it also, another thing that was a factor, and I know we discussed this a little bit earlier, but another thing that was a factor was that around the age of 11 and 12, what kind of became a thing was the diving in soccer and the drawing fouls. Drawing fouls became more involved in the game, and that was always something that I did not like because I hated the idea of diving or exaggerating a fall to draw a penalty. That it never sat right with me, and it still doesn't sit right with me. And it's a reason why I don't watch soccer a lot now, just because it just bothers me. And the reason it bothers me so much is because I kind of adopted that hockey mentality where if you fall down, you get back up and you get back into play. And there's no ifs, and or buts about it. Like, that's how it was. I had been playing hockey since I was about 5. So I was doing hockey and soccer for a good like 6 or 7 years. Then around 12, I played a year with the Downsview Beavers in single A. And we got slapped around. It was god awful. The coach basically took a bunch of took the best players, the best 2 or 3 players from a couple of house league teams and threw us on a single A team. When we should have gone to select first. But he threw us in single A and we got slapped silly. We tied 3 games and lost the rest. And the 3 games that we tied
them.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
The 3 games we tied, we treated like we won the Stanley Cup. Like, it was huge. It was huge. But it was also at that point where I decided like that I want to stay with hockey and soccer wasn't for me, even though I almost stopped playing hockey that year because it was probably the most mentally challenging and like depressing year of hockey in my life. The coach also wasn't necessarily a great guy. He definitely didn't coach us right for the group of kids and team we were. That was a bit of a tricky part of playing hockey, especially at that age. But it's definitely formed a lot of my mentality now. Because hockey players always have that idea of like, if you're going to do something, you do it 110%. You know? So I kind of treat most things like that. And that's like I mentioned, is also kind of the reason why I fell off of soccer. Because the whole faking it bit didn't sit right with me. Even though I was a goalie, I didn't have to fake it, but just seeing it bothered me.
I don't know.
That's really interesting.
Your soccer league must have been brutal because, like, I played soccer up until like I didn't play in a league, but I played high school soccer until I graduated, and there was none of that. No diving. And like this was private school soccer too. So like these aren't the toughest kids on the face of the planet, if we're being completely honest. Absolutely none of that stuff. But I will say, at least you did tie a couple hockey games. I played U14 basketball one year. We didn't win a game all season apart from one exhibition game where we played a team from the division below us, and I played center because I was the tallest player we had available, because one of our centers had a sprained ankle, another one had a concussion, the other guy had just come back from a skiing trip, and the music teacher wouldn't let him go. And another guy had a concussion, which I don't know how two basketball players got concussions, but they
Wait,
did.
and you won this game?
Yes, we won this game because we played a team from the
Right.
division below us who were terrible.
I'm trying to figure out why they didn't put you back at center if that was the only game.
Yeah.
Because I was terrible. I'm not a good basketball
obviously.
Well,
player.
you're losing all the games.
Something worked that game. Something clicked.
I don't know what it was. I hit a hook shot from like the free throw line,
Oh,
and
wow.
that was one of the best things I've ever done in sports, period. But what I was going to say is we lost one of those games. I don't know if you've heard of French. We call them the Frenchies. They were like the French school. They're over by Crescent. I don't know if you're familiar with the Crescent School. No? Okay.
No.
There's a French school, and we played them. They should have gone the division above us. They didn't. They beat us 63-1.
1?
In basketball, yes. One guy hit a free throw,
Oh, wow.
and that was it.
Oh man.
We got murdered. And
Damn.
like we just didn't know what to do at that point. Our coach basically threw in the season that year and just started training us for the rugby season because he was the rugby coach too. So we were all in very good shape come the rugby season and slapped everyone around. But yeah, it's at least you tied. Just take that away. At least you tied 3 games.
You're right.
Could have been so much worse.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
But I do want to know, what did that sort of teach you about perseverance and like what did that entire experience teach you in terms of becoming a bigger person? Because 12, that sort of age is pretty pivotal in terms of development and in terms of you becoming a person.
Yeah, no, I totally see where you're coming from. That year of hockey nearly like made me stop. Like I would leave the rink crying after several like games and practices because like it was that brutal. Like we were losing games like 10-0, 12-0, like double digits.
Jeez.
Like, and I was one of the better players on the team. One of the things that, well, the very first game I played with the team, we started off in a tournament because our coach wanted to see how we would play before we jumped into the regular season. So we went to a tournament and I scored the first 2 goals of the game and for my team. And this was a brand new team put together. So I was like, wow, I just scored 2 goals on a single A hockey team and we're winning the game. I was like, wow. And then we lost.
Okay.
Yeah. So that ended quickly.
The joy lasted about 15 minutes.
Yeah,
and then it was gone.
Yeah, it was a very, very high, and then it was a very low. And the rest of the season kind of went like that. What it taught me, I would say, it's going to sound cliche, of course, but like you got to stick through the bad parts to get to the good parts. That 1 year of single A was the hardest year of hockey of my life. Like it was easily the hardest. We were doing dry land training once a week, on the ice 2 or 3 times a week, just doing suicides. Like
yeah,
our
it's not
coach,
fun when you're losing. That's
no.
fun.
And that's the thing. If you're misbehaving as a team and you're not listening to the coach, that's one thing. We were losing games just because we weren't at the same skill level as the other teams. We weren't. It's not for a lack of effort, although it became a lack of effort just because we were so mentally and physically defeated. But it wasn't for a lack of effort. We just weren't skilled. We weren't able to compete with these other kids. It didn't make sense.
What teams were you playing against? I'm curious. Like
Vaughan Rangers, Vaughan Panthers, the Duffield Devils, Toronto Arrows.
okay.
Teams like that. I can think of a couple more maybe. But I was the Downsview Beavers. We were like the Boston team, the Boston colors. It's
Okay.
basically the same jersey setup
Okay.
except with a D instead of a B. But that was the hardest year. But I came out of that year and went back to house league and became the star player of the league. Like I finished like it was a tough year, but like the coach would punish us if we lost the game by doing suicides.
Then you did a lot of suicides. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. He bag skated us a couple times too.
That's probably why you've been losing. You're just so tired.
Yeah,
doing the suicide,
he wasn't teaching us. We were losing because of skill, not because of effort.
Yeah,
And
for
he
sure.
wasn't teaching us skills.
Mhm.
But the off time he did, I learned a lot. I learned how to win a face off. I became a very good centerman. I would win every draw. And I was a big kid, so I could, not that I was a rough player, but I would win like body battles to the puck. And I had a good shot. And it took the things that I was good at already and elevated them a ton. So when I went back to a level that I should have been playing at originally, I was so much better. I was the star player of the league, and I didn't have any intentions of moving up to select or trying again just because of my experience there. So it just became more of a thing for fun because I also had a couple of friends that I had made and I wanted to keep playing with them. So I stuck in house league and I was like the star player of the league for like a good, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. And then other kids started to catch up. But that's what it's taught me, is that you've got to stick through that hard part. Like I wouldn't have been as good of a player as I was, and I'd like to think I'm still a pretty decent player, but I wouldn't have learned and grown as much as I have if I didn't stick through that. If I would have quit, there's no way I would be as good as I am now. I speak like I'm some pro, but like I'm a decent player for just an amateur.
Yeah.
For a regular guy that just likes to play hockey. I'm decent, and I wouldn't be that way if I didn't stick through that year of like, oh my god, like it was just a depressing time for me to play hockey.
Is that guy still coaching?
Thank God, no.
Okay,
that
good.
was his only year of coaching, and it should have been
okay.
Yeah, of rep coaching,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, those are tough years. I remember having some tough years playing hockey, but yeah, you look back on them now and it's like, hey, I'm never going to be playing in that situation again, and I'm in a much better spot in my life. And yeah, did you end up winning like any championships after that, or having
came
like
close?
good
Came close.
Okay.
I could tell you horror stories about oh man.
You've awakened a demon
no.
here, Aiden. You've awakened a demon. He's gonna have
no.
PTSD
I
now.
won't go into it. I
Missed
won't
the
go
open
into
net or
it.
something.
I don't know if that wound is fully healed yet.
Okay. All right.
The buddies I stuck back to play with make some stupid plays and get you eliminated from the playoffs in a year that you would win, and it's tough. It's tough, but that's how it is.
Yep.
Did you play Ryerson intramural hockey?
No. And
No?
I wish I did. I might do it in fourth year if it pans out. I saw 1 or 2 games between two teams, and God, if I remember the names, but they're also teams of sport media students.
Yeah.
I think I could take them. Like I think I'd be a dangerous player out there if I were out there. But I wanted
You'd probably kill somebody because you're a big guy.
No,
and
I'm a
some of the
gentle
guys
giant.
aren't exactly the biggest on the face of the planet.
No. I'm a gentle giant. I'm not a rough guy.
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean you did it on purpose. It means
That's
they
true.
weren't paying attention and just killed themselves.
Yeah.
I floored one kid one time. I sent a goalie home in an ambulance because I broke his arm with a shot.
Okay, I
geez.
thought you were gonna say you ran him over.
No,
I
no,
was
no,
gonna
no,
say
no, no,
that
no,
is
no,
Broke
not
his arm
gentle
with a
giant.
shot.
We have
No,
very
no.
different definitions of that.
No, I wouldn't. No, I didn't mean to
How
hurt
did
him.
What was he wearing? Like,
I don't know. I took a shot. It hit his arm. It broke his arm.
It's like no padding. Just
What?
I mean, was it like a
That's-
forearm? Because there's
I
not,
think it
I
was
guess,
like
that much.
up
No,
here,
padding
like
comes down
above
to here.
above the elbow. I don't know.
What?
Yeah,
don't know.
I feel like there's kind of like an empty spot somewhere, like
There's an
around
empty
the
spot
middle.
in here because you have to be able to move your arm.
It was more like up here.
Yeah.
Like,
Here.
maybe
Maybe
a
it was the
couple inches
elbow.
above the elbow.
I don't know what that kid must have not been wearing padding the right way because, like, I don't have very much experience.
Just
in
a really
goal.
hard shot, you know. It went right through the
Funny
padding.
right
The
through
funny
the
part
padding.
about
Yes.
it was that this was the kid of the evil rep coach I had.
Really?
Kind of funny. It was kind of
Wow.
funny. Yeah. I also played with the kid, but the kid was like the obnoxious like coach's son, like the textbook coach's son.
Was
So,
this
like,
before or after?
After.
Okay.
So I didn't really feel that bad.
Yeah.
Wow, that's insane. You broke a kid's arm with a shot.
I was a big kid. I had a good shot. I wasn't a fast skater. I wasn't an agile skater, but like I could shoot the puck.
You were
So, like,
jumbo but shooting.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. That's okay. You learn something new every day. I didn't think you could break a guy's arm with a shot in full
Yeah, neither
goalie
did
gear,
I.
but apparently I stand corrected because you fractured a kid's like this. Oh my God. This is the biggest. Oh, I can't get over that. That's nuts. That's nuts. Okay, well, let's wrap up this conversation because we do have to get into sports because I know you just want to go in terms
Oh,
of
I'm
the
in no rush.
Wilson stuff. No, I'm in terms of the Wilson stuff.
Oh,
I know you just want to go. So we'll wrap it up our conversation about you with the question we haven't asked in a while, but we probably should do more often. And that is, what are your three pieces of English is hard. What are your three pieces of advice to somebody looking to get into sport media?
Oh, that's good. That's a really good question. What if I've had this conversation with, actually, I have a buddy who's just finished high school, and I had this conversation with him. The first thing, and I mentioned it when we were talking about the documentary, is to give people the benefit of the doubt when you're working in groups. This program is very heavily focused on group work, and you don't know what other people are going through. You don't know what's happening behind closed doors. So just being respectful of other people's time. That being said, if you are the person that's having a tough time, at least if it's going to affect the group, make a conscious effort to at least get your stuff done or have a discussion with someone about it first. Do your due diligence to make sure you're helping your group. But from an outside perspective, you don't know what other people are going through. Be patient, be kind, don't be an asshole, is essentially the point I'm trying to make. That's how you make enemies. And this is a field where you're going to be working in a team 99% of the time. So if you build yourself a reputation for being a mean person, you're not doing yourself a favor. So just giving people the benefit of the doubt, being a kind person, being a good teammate, a good partner is one of the things. The other thing I would say is time management. I also learned that through editing the documentary this year and other projects. If you don't manage your time, you are screwing yourself.
You are not going to have a good time.
No, you are not going to have a good time. And that goes for most programs.
Mhm.
It's not just a sport media thing. But if you save your work or an essay or whatever it is for the night before, and I know some people do that because they say they work better under pressure, but like for myself at least, I start essays like 3 or 4 weeks before they're due, and I'll literally just write out like the first couple sentences or the first paragraph, because at least I've started it, and it's much easier to start an essay or a piece of work or whatever it is when it's already started.
That's true. Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, it's the hardest part is always sitting down and starting it. Once you start writing out the essay, it flows much easier.
And it's such easier to come back to it too, because you already have like the main idea written down, and you don't have to think of what it's going to start with. You already have that.
Yeah. And I'm not saying you have to have like the whole first paragraph like done, but just to have a couple of ideas on paper. And even if you come back to it like 2 days later, you add another couple sentences or another paragraph. You do the same thing. Maybe 3 or 4 days later, you come back, you add a little bit more. It's way easier than cramming it a day or two before. And that's what I did at the end of second year when the pandemic hit. We had like all of our assignments got turned into essays. And we had like 3 or 4 essays due at the same time. And they were big essays. They were like 2,000 words to 1,500 or 1,500 to 2,000 words. So like it was nothing to slouch at. And we had 3 or 4 of those. So what I did was like I spent like maybe because we had so many essays, I spent 2 or 3 hours a day, but I was working on a little bit of each essay like for about a month straight. And it helped me to kind of relax because at least I'm not cramming in a whole essay in a week's time or in a couple days' time. So I would say time management, like getting a head start on your assignments and stuff like that is definitely big, and leaving time for yourself too. Like do whatever you got to do to relax. You want to play some video games, go play some video games and relax. You want to watch TikTok, go watch TikTok for an hour, relax. You need that. Just for an hour is an understatement. But you get what I'm saying. Like give yourself that time. And the third point I would kind of say is to be very open-minded. You're going to run into a lot of people with different opinions and different outlooks. And I'm not just saying like not to take it so seriously. Like you might just run into people with they want to treat, or they might go about an assignment, a group assignment differently.
You might have to deal with a Habs fan if you're a Leafs fan. That's just.
Listen, I had to wear a Habs jersey for Zach Finch's journalism assignment. He was interviewing me, and I had to play as Jasper Kotkaniemi, and he made me wear a Habs jersey. And I told him I wasn't going to do it, and then he showed up that day with a Habs jersey, and I did it because I didn't want to be a dick.
Yeah.
Shout out,
gotta keep an open mind.
Yeah.
Did I enjoy it? Absolutely not. I hated it with every ounce of my being. I hated it, but you need to be be open-minded and like, again, it kind of ties into the first point again about like you don't know other people's situations and you want to be a good teammate, but like people aren't. You're working in group environments 99% of the time. How many? Like we'd had so many group assignments over the past year. Like most of them were group assignments. You need to be willing to listen to other people's opinions, their feedback, even if you don't like it. There were moments during my documentary and where I was getting feedback from my group, and it was all good feedback, but some of them I didn't agree with. Like there was quite a few points, not all of them, but I would say maybe a good 20% of the points that they gave back to me where I was kind of like, I don't like that. But at the same time,
all the time,
yeah, but like the thing is you kind of got to swallow your pride a little bit, and you got to go, okay, maybe they just see it a different way, and maybe I'm seeing it in a certain one perspective, and maybe they're right. Maybe it will look better this way. And it turns out to be true a lot of the time because you become so kind of protective over your work that you don't want to take criticism of it, but you need to be accepting of criticism, and you need to be open, like I said, open-minded about other people's ideas and perspectives, because when you're working in a group environment, that's how you create an environment of where you can all do your best work. Because if one person's ideas are being shut down constantly, or you're forcing your ideas on everyone else and not really taking any advice or opinions of anyone else, it's a very one-sided group. It's a very poor group dynamic. So I would think I know if the first and third point are somewhat similar, but being that good teammate and listening to other people, listening to what they have to say, I think is huge.
And I think bouncing off of that too, be prepared to do more work than somebody else. Like it's not always going to be directly even. Sometimes on some assignments you're going to have to do most of the work, and other assignments you'll have to do less. So it's just keeping in mind, like, look, yes, it'll be tough now, but ultimately it'll work out in the end. And again, bouncing off the open part, like I've been very open about having anxiety and dealing with mostly social anxiety. Second year was one of the hardest years of my entire life. Like I didn't want to get out of bed some days. And, you tell people that, they don't judge you. They don't think of you in any other way. They understand what you're going through. And that's a lot of what this program is. Like if you're just open about your issues and what's going on in your life, people won't criticize you or think of you any differently. And if they do, it's on them. That's not on you. Like you can't change anything about who you are or what you think, etc. It's who you are, period. And I think most people in this program understand that, if not all people in this program understand that and are willing to work with you, because ultimately we're all chasing the same goal, and it's to work in sport media. And look, when somebody else in this program does well, it'll mean we'll do well, because it'll create a better image of our program. It'll create a better image of us. And I think you bringing up all those points was right on the money. So yeah, it's a tough program at times, but it's worth it in the end. Is ultimately the final statement I will make on that front before you two rant your absolute brains out. And I'll go and eat food while you talk. I'm kidding.
Go dry your hair.
Yeah, go dry my hair.
Probably dry now.
It is definitely dry. It's starting to curl, actually. That's not good. But Rangers Capitals. We got to start with. Actually, no. We'll start with the Leafs. Then we'll get to the rest of the NHL.
It's a good idea.
Since we recorded last, Aiden, they've clinched a playoff spot. They're very, very close to clinching the division for the first time since 2000. I believe the fourth time in their history, which, yikes, that just shows how terrible the Leafs have been. Freddie has gone on a conditioning stint and allowed 3 goals in the first period with the Marlies yesterday.
2 goals.
I thought it was 3.
It was 2. I believe it was 12 saves on 14 shots.
That is still a big old yikes.
Yeah.
But Freddie Anderson, conditioning stint, not going to plan, to say the least. I believe he's going to play tomorrow as well in their game, potentially the full game. And Nick Foligno is day-to-day.
Yeah.
So, are you guys worried about the Leafs right now? Or do you think they have this conference and this division and this... Do you think they're set to go to the conference finals? Is really my big question.
Aiden, do you want to start, or you mean me?
Yes, if you want to take it, you can take it.
Okay. Do I think that they're able to make it to the conference finals? I feel like it's something the Leafs fans say fairly often, but I feel like this is the year. Like, you look at the team they've built, they are getting everything they've wanted and asked for over the past couple of years. What have been the biggest things that the Leafs have been, or Leafs fans have been begging for over the past couple of years? We need tougher guys. We need guys who are going to stand up for their players. We got that. We got that with Wayne Simmons. We got that with Jumbo Joe.
Nick
what
Foligno.
else?
Bogosian.
Nick Foligno as well.
Yeah.
What was the other big thing? We need guys on defense who are stay at home, who are defensively reliable, not just guys who can move the puck up to the forwards. I understand the name of the game is to score more goals than the other guys, but if you're allowing 40 shots a game, something's wrong. You know, they've fixed that problem with guys like Zach Bogosian and Justin Hall, I think, emerging as a pretty strong and defensively reliable, although not all the time, player.
We'll
I think
that, yeah.
it's debatable, but
I think it's mostly to do with Jake Muzzin, but yes.
Also Jake Muzzin. But I think a lot of the things that Leaf fans and the obvious needs of the team, I think that stuff has been answered. Along with that comes new issues, like you mentioned, the goaltending. I don't think anyone anticipated this to happen with Freddie Anderson. So obviously there's new issues, but I think a lot of the previous issues we've had regarding toughness and defensive reliability have been answered. And our offense right now, besides the power play struggles, have been answered. Matthews scored 40 goals in 49 games, and it makes me so happy. It makes me so happy.
Yeah.
But I think the Leafs have an incredible offensive core, and I think their needs for a tough team and a stronger defensive core have been answered. The only area I would raise arms about is the goaltending. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's funny that you didn't mention TJ Brody in your defenseman conversation, who is by far our best defenseman defensively, and it's not even close.
Fair.
Yeah, if we like honestly lose him at some point, or if we didn't have
we're
him,
screwed.
like it
We're
wouldn't be
screwed.
good. It's basically it's worse than losing Muzzin was last year in just like the one game or whatever in the playoffs. But yeah, I don't know. Like I feel giddy talking about like the possibility of them making it to the Eastern Conference Final. Like, yeah, it's a clear possibility, and like I'm really going back and forth between myself. Like, yeah, it should be like a clear path, right, to the Eastern Conference Final. Like they should do it. They're the best team in the North Division. They should be the clear winners. But then again, it's the Leafs, and like maybe they choke because it's the Leafs. But like I don't want to see that. I don't think it's gonna happen. But then again, we have to remember that they haven't won a playoff series in the Matthews era. They don't know how to win a playoff series yet, even though they won't
They
be
haven't won
playing.
a playoff series since the lockout.
Yeah, but yeah, with this team though too, like the Matthews era has not won a playoff series. They don't know how to do it yet. I know they brought in Thornton, who's like made it to the Cup final before. He knows how to win some rounds. Wayne Simmons, Muzzin, TJ Brody's won a couple of rounds too. Bogosian just won the Stanley Cup, so it's a lot more experience. But then again, like the big boys have to show it. But just the way that like but before this season, like we'd always talk about, like we got the core four, right? Matthews, Marner, Tavares, Nylander. This season, it's just been like Matthews and Marner have just taken it up like another level. Like they're the top tier. Tavares and Nylander are like closer down here. And that's what you need to win in the playoffs. You need like one guy really to just lead you. And Austin Matthews is that player who's going to score big goals in the playoffs when it comes down to it. And if you look at the Cup teams, like when the Capitals won the Cup, like Ovechkin, like he was their key guy. Sidney Crosby with the Penguins, who won the Stanley Cup last year at Tampa with Kucherov, right? And Braden Point, like they basically carried the Lightning to the Stanley Cup there. Matthews and Marner is basically that same combo. So I mean, yeah, they should make it to the Eastern Conference Final. They really should. It's gonna be a fun playoff run. I think. I think. I don't know if this is the year for the Cup. Like, we'll see if they can match up well against teams outside of the North. And like maybe if they stay in Canada, which I think they will, maybe that gives them some sort of an advantage. Like they've played in this arena all year. If teams are coming to them, it might be beneficial. But yeah, I just think with the combination of the youth and the veterans and the speed and now the defense and the trio of goalies that you could go to if need be, I think is really key. I think right now, at least, Jack Campbell does get the start come opening night of the playoffs, just because I don't think you can take that away. Like you don't want to mess with what's working right now. But then again, if Freddie is healthy, like I wouldn't be too concerned about him coming in because I know what he's done in the past. He can do good things. The conditioning stint, that game, I don't think we should read too much into it. Like it's his first game back in so long, like new team, new setup. He's got to get into it. I think he's playing like a full game now come the weekend. So we'll see how he does in that one. But I feel really comfortable with this team and I don't see them blowing it. I don't. I'm pretty confident that we can make it to the third round. At least the second round. At least the second round.
Here's the way they blow it. They either get goalied by Connor Hellebuck.
Carey Price.
Not Carey Price. He sucked this season.
It's Carey Price.
Jake Allen has been their better goal. I don't care. He has not been very good for the last few years. Okay. If we're being completely honest, he's just not been very good. That contract
hasn't been Carey Price.
Woof. No. Ever since he stepped on that puck and destroyed his groin, he just hasn't been the same. So that contract's going to be fun for them come, I guess, 5 years from now, when it's still going, when he still has it. But I think either they get goalied by Connor Hellebuck or Connor McDavid does what Connor McDavid does, scores 100 points in like a 52-game season because he's an animal. Yeah. And he just runs Toronto out of the playoffs, which I don't think will happen now because TJ Brody's good. Jake Muzzin and Justin Holl are a great shutdown pair. You've got Nick Foligno, Zach Hyman, and Alex Kerfoot as your defensive forwards, your shutdown line if you want to do that. Or you could do Mikheyev instead of Hyman or Foligno. Or you could do Mikheyev instead of Kerfoot. You have so many different defensive options that I think they're incredibly well built for the playoffs, and they can throw the body, and they have a ton of depth for if somebody goes down at
Yeah.
forward and on the back end. Like
Yeah.
you got Rasmus Sandin sitting on the bench.
No, he's got to play. He's playing.
Yeah.
He's playing.
For
He has
who?
Dermot's out. Dermot's out.
You take out
Bogosian's in.
Dermot.
Bogosian over Dermot.
Yeah,
Dermot's out.
you can't not play Bogosian.
Yeah.
I don't play Bogosian because he's coming back from injury.
Okay, fair.
Well,
But
yeah,
how
true,
long
if
would
he's
you keep
healthy,
him
yeah.
out?
If he's healthy, he's in though. That's what I think. If he's healthy, he's in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you sit Sandin. I think what you do is you platoon Sandin and Dermot because I think there's going to be a back-to-back no matter what every playoff round, correct?
I don't know about that. Maybe.
I'm not
Could
sure.
be.
I haven't looked too much into the schedule yet.
Have they even announced like the format even? Or
I
like
No,
think they have.
I don't know.
I think there's a back-to-back. I'm not 100% certain on that, but I think there's a back-to-back. And in the event of a back-to-back, you just put Sandin in there. If somebody on the right goes down, you can either shift Dermot to the right, or you got Timothy Liljegren, who a lot of people are really low on. I'm still pretty high on. I think he's going to be a pretty good defenseman in the NHL.
If we get to Liljegren though, like we're in trouble. I think this playoff run.
And
Like
I
we'll
forgot
have
Ben
some.
Hutton.
Yeah, I like Ben Hutton too, but I don't think there's any way they take Sandin out of the lineup right now. He's playing first line power play time over Morgan Riley.
You have
Like
to remember, he's still coming back from injury, right? Like he broke his foot, so he's still coming back
Sandin?
from that. Yeah,
I think he's fine. I
He
think
looks
he's
okay. He looks good, man.
He wouldn't be playing, right?
we wouldn't have known about the Matthews wrist injury until they told us, and he had to sit out a couple games. So just
True.
because he looks good doesn't mean he isn't battling through something, right?
Everyone's battling through something. Come playoff times, like guys are
Yeah.
going to be playing through so many injuries. I think
Look
you
what
got to
the
play your
Stars
best.
played through.
Yeah, Tyler
Yeah.
Seguin, like Kucherov, even I think. Yeah, like Kucherov, he's been out all year because of
Yeah.
it now.
Yes, he's been out all year, and he's been skating for like 10 weeks at this
That's
point.
true.
Like,
Yeah, he's just sitting on the bench of my fantasy team. Or the IR spot, actually. I drafted him first round.
yeah, but
I
it's
knew
a
he was
keeper
going to be
league,
out all
isn't it?
year. Yeah,
That's
it's keeper league.
tough.
That's why. No, that's why though. I did it on purpose.
okay.
I knew he was out all year. Keepers.
Well, you clearly are both pretty high on the Leafs. I want to know, though, if Campbell goes down, who is your starter in the playoffs? Is it David Riddick? Is it Frederik Andersen? Or
Don't
Is it
even. Don't
Michael Hutchinson,
even.
who
Stop that.
has
Say it.
actually been okay this season? I know you
No.
want to, like, I know you hate him. He's actually been pretty okay this season.
No, it's
All
not
things
happening.
considered.
Not a
It's
chance.
not happening, no. But he's a very viable option in the event of an injury. Like there's no other NHL team who, if you get to their fourth goalie, they're as good as Michael Hutchinson. Period.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, you got a point.
There are teams who their third goalie isn't even as good as Michael Hutchinson. Look at what the Leafs did to Caden Primo last night.
Yeah. I think like if Campbell gets injured, and I assume this means like Freddie's healthy, but he's just the backup. If Campbell gets injured,
Probably. I
yeah. So like
assume.
if everyone's healthy, yeah, you go with Frederik Andersen over Riddick, and also like I don't think Campbell being the starter is like a sure thing either. Like I think he has to start game one just because of this amazing stretch that he's led the Leafs on, and you don't want to mess anything up and bring Freddie in and that be the reason you lose. You stick with what's working. But then if Campbell has like, probably we'd have to have maybe 2 bad games in a row. But I don't see that happening till maybe like the third round even. And then Freddie gets into a game, like hopefully, right? Where we could be wrong and Campbell does have a bad game or the back-to-back, like you mentioned, Connor. Maybe they could go with Freddie if they're like up in the series. They want to rest Campbell a little bit. That could be an opportunity. They go to Andersen. But yeah, it's definitely Andersen over Riddick. But I'm still comfortable with Riddick, like winning us games. Going on a long run with Riddick is a different story, but I think he can win us a game.
Yeah, I agree. You made the comment about Jack Campbell taking us to like the second or third round and then maybe switching it out. And while you were saying that, I was thinking of the Capitals run in 2017. I'm not, no, 2018. 2018, my mistake.
Yep, 2018.
What happened there? Philip Grubauer started for them, took them up until about halfway through the third round when Braden Holtby came back from injury and a slump in his season and brought them to the Cup. It's exactly like how you said it. They had to rely on their backup. Their backup was standing on his head throughout most of the playoffs, and then the starter, who was going through a slump and coming back from injury, came back. Actually, I don't know about the injury for Holtby, but he was definitely going through a slump. Came back when they needed him and acted like the starter he was.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I take Frederik Andersen over Rittich or Hutch. Hutch is the bottom of the poll for me.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Andersen has been good for this team for the past 4 years. You know, it's arguable that his play is declining or has been declining a little bit over his tenure with the Leafs. The numbers show that he's kind of been getting a little bit worse after each year. But the guy stands on his head. The issue is he also lets up a softie every now and then. But I'd still treat him like a starter. He still goes out there. And when he was getting peppered with shots, with 40 shots a game, he was saving majority of them. You know, like we worked the guy into the ground. Like he's deserving of the starter role. I would do what you said, Aiden. I would ride Campbell as long as he's feeling good and playing good. Don't fix what's not broken. But if there ever becomes the need to switch up a goalie, I think Andersen is your go-to guy, like he's always been. And if he's off the table, I'm comfortable, like how you said, with Rittich playing a game or two, but I wouldn't comfortably rely on Rittich to get us through the playoffs.
Yeah.
Come next season, what's the goalie tandem?
Ideally, Andersen on the same deal he is now, maybe a little bit less, and Campbell.
Yeah, I can't really argue with that. I don't know how the numbers will really work out because I know we got to sign Hyman, but and we got Riley coming up soon as well. But yeah, I think just because Andersen's been basically out for the majority of the season and his play hasn't really earned him like a top-notch deal, he might take a hometown discount. But then again, I feel like there is a team out there that's going to be paying him a lot of money.
Yeah.
But that's the ideal one for sure. Andersen, Campbell, I could see it. But I mean, I'm definitely fine with Jack Campbell being the starter if he keeps playing the way that he has. And then you got Dave Rittich, and then you might want to draft a goalie. They've drafted a lot of goalies. You're right. They have like Wool down there too, so they have depth. And Hutchison's your third, I guess. I'm being greedy now. Like we have a good tandem. Yeah, I would be fine with Campbell and Rittich, honestly.
I think next season you have a Campbell-Rittich tandem. You let Freddie walk because I think he's going to want a lot of money over a lot of years. I don't think that's smart at this point. I think you can get Rittich at a lot cheaper number, and I think you go with an A/B system. Wait until one of your goalies is potentially ready. If they aren't, that's still a good enough tandem for this team. They can outscore all their problems. We've seen that in the past. And I think you can then use that money somewhere else, like on Zach Hyman or another forward potentially, or a defenseman, or whatever you want to do. Maybe you swing a trade for a goalie. As I said in a previous episode, Carter Hart would be a good option, I would think, if they're willing to move him. But I
will say that, like, I think what's going to dictate Andersen leaving or staying will be the success of this season, because I truly believe that Andersen wants to win here and he likes playing in Toronto and being around like the core of Matthews and Marner. Like their relationship is super tight knit. Like he loves playing for them. So I feel like if they have an early exit, I think he's gone. But if they like make it to the third round, I think he's gonna want to be a part of a possible Stanley Cup run the following year. So I could see him maybe taking like a 1-year deal just to come back, maybe up his value. Because if he's not getting that market value in free agency, then maybe he's just gonna be like, hey, you know what? I'll take the bet on me type contract and come back.
He's 31 though, right? He's getting
Yeah.
or he's up there in age.
30. He's
So
30.
30.
Not
I assume
mistaken.
soon to be 31. How long is he going to stay in the league? Can he do a prove me contract? I don't think he can at this point in his career. I think he's got to take the biggest number and the longest term he can get.
I don't know. I feel like some goalies like kind of play better as they age in some circumstances. Like Henrik
we haven't
Lundqvist
seen that with Freddie though.
You're right.
Freddie, for reference, will be 32 in October this year.
32.
Okay.
He'll be
In
32
October.
this year. Just for reference.
I don't know.
I don't think it makes sense to bring Freddie back. I don't think he fits the timeline of this team. I think somebody who's younger, like Jack Campbell, who, albeit not that much younger, is still a little bit younger. And I think David Riddick is close in age to Freddie.
More so to Campbell, I think.
Yeah, he's sort of in between those two. I think that fits your timeline a bit better. And I think that's a more solid option to go with a 1-2. So you just ride the hot hand. And that's proven what's worked in the NHL up until this point. You saw it with, as you guys mentioned earlier, Washington. It's working sort of with the Rangers. It definitely will in the future. It's worked in Montreal because everybody expects Carey Price to be the number one goalie, and Jake Allen has decided that he is somehow one of the best goalies in the NHL all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. So I just think it makes sense to do the 1-2. But let's dive in, as I just mentioned, the Rangers. Let's dive into my boy Tom and everything that he's done. Before I let you two rant, because I know you both want to rant, I'm going to break down the situation a little bit. So basically what happened, Tom Wilson in a game against the New York Rangers on Monday, which as we're recording this, it's currently May 7th. So May 2nd, I guess, in the game against the Washington Capitals, New York Rangers. In a scrum, Tom Wilson gets on top of Pavel Buchnevich and punches him in the back of the head. After he punches him in the back of the head, Artemi Panarin, or somebody jumps on his back. He gets up. Then Artemi Panarin jumps on his back. Somehow Panarin loses his helmet. I'm not sure exactly how that happened. But then Wilson grabs him by the hair, throws him onto his back, like takes his feet out from under him, throws him onto his back, lands on his back. Panarin tries to get back up again. Wilson grabs him again and throws him to the ice for a second time, all without a helmet on. Everything sort of calms down. Wilson goes to the penalty box, obviously has his jersey off, because of course he does. Stands up in the penalty box and flexes. I think that's the best way of describing it. He gets a 10-minute misconduct, goes whatever, game ends. Everybody's expecting a suspension. George Parros and the Department of Player Safety issue him a $5,000 fine. The New York Rangers and most of the hockey world are livid. Rangers release a statement, although we'll get to that statement, basically saying they don't agree with the decision and they believe that George Parros is not fit to continue to be the head of the Department of Player Safety. Then the next day, Washington and New York play each other again, because of course they do. It's just perfectly set up. Right off the face-off, line brawl. 3 fights, same time. Literally 2 minutes later, another scrap involving Wilson, who got jumped by, I think it was Brendan Smith. And then a third fight, and you have 6 guys in the penalty box. Wilson gets out of the penalty box. Another verbal altercation. He gets a 10-minute misconduct. he doesn't return because of an upper body injury. In other words, Peter Laviolette, who I believe is the coach of Washington, basically just said, "You're not playing anymore because you're going to get killed." Probably the right decision, all things considered. So, later in that game, after he's left the ice, Anthony Mantha slashes Pavel Buchnevich 4 times, a few seconds apart, skating around the ice. Buchnevich turns and faces him after the whistle's been blown, and Anthony Mantha starts skating to him with his stick up. So Buchnevich brings his stick up and cross-checks Mantha in the face. Booted from the game, 5-minute misconduct, done. He then gets suspended for a game as a result of the cross-check. So this has created a massive, massive, massive debate in the hockey world around fighting in hockey, around George Peros, around the New York Rangers, because yesterday, or I think it was yesterday, the New York Rangers fired their general manager and their president, both of them, because apparently it was hockey decision, and because the owner of the team, James Dolan, doesn't want to be in a rebuild anymore, when in reality, what we now know, they tried to distance themselves from the statement because they didn't know it was coming out. And they tried to say that to all the other GMs and presidents and whatever in hockey. And then the Rangers get fined $250,000 for the statement, and now we're here. Let's start from the beginning, and we'll start with Tom Wilson, because I assume that's the most passionate thing you guys have to talk about and the most opinions you have on it. But my simple question, and I assume you'll just go from here, should Tom Wilson have been suspended for the Artemi Panarin situation because he was fined for punching Pavel Buchnevich but got nothing for the Artemi Panarin thing? So should Tom Wilson have been suspended?
110%. He should have been suspended for the issue with Pavel Buchnevich in front of the net. I thought personally, I thought that was more violent than what he did to Artemi Panarin. Because if you look at the way his stick was underneath Buchnevich, the way he kind of picks him up and drops him to the floor, to me, seemed more violent than what happened to Panarin. That doesn't undermine what he did to Panarin. That was
because Panarin is out for the season with an injury due to the Tom Wilson events.
Correct.
Yeah.
Even more so because Panarin's done. I think you look at the two injuries, or not the two injuries, the two incidents together, and you say Tom Wilson has pulled stuff like this, maybe not as blatant as this, but has pulled some pretty scary stuff like this before and has essentially walked away chalk free. You're looking at this now. He almost injured a young, I'm not going to say star, but a very talented young player. And he does injure one of the NHL's all-stars and probably one of the top 10 players in the league if you're gonna say that.
The star on the most valuable team in hockey.
There you go. Look, yeah, you're absolutely right. And you let him walk away with $5,000? That's pocket change for him. That's pocket
I think
change.
they did the math, and it's like I saw a couple different places do the math. That's the equivalent for like I think it was Adam Wilde who did the math on one of them, and Rachel Dory who did it on another. For Rachel Dory, it was the equivalent of a junior chicken from McDonald's, and for Adam Wilde, it was the equivalent of $66.
Oh my gosh.
If I could aggravated assault somebody for $66,
Junior chicken.
a junior chicken price, I think most people would be committing a lot of assault, if we're being completely honest.
That was the most disgusting part of this, that it seemed like the and I agree with the Rangers statement. I think Tom Wilson tried to kill a guy, 2 of them, and got fined $5,000.
Yeah.
The Rangers hurt someone's feelings and got fined $250,000.
What's unreal is a lot of people were expecting that fine, the 250,000, to be like upwards of $1 million.
Give me a break. Give me a break. You're kidding me that they're going to fine them for making a statement about a player that assaulted 2 players, but the player who assaulted 2 guys gets $5,000? He has to sell a junior chicken? Give me a break.
Yeah.
Give me a break. It was violent and he's a repeat offender. That's the second most important point. He's a repeat offender. This is not the first time he's been on the NHL player safety's radar. He's always been there for a reason. He's Tom Wilson. And he's going to pull shit like this. And George Peros, who I'm so disappointed with, is saying $5,000. That'll be enough. That's also an issue with the CBA. That has to be changed in the CBA because to fine players the maximum of $5,000 when you have players making upwards of so many million is stupid. Makes no sense. But like, come on.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a little different in terms of if it were a player like Travis Dermott, who only makes 800 or so thousand. But when you look at it as though like it's such a small amount, and what came out later, George Peros didn't even want to suspend Tom Wilson for the Brandon Carlo incident, and Gary Bettman had to step in and say, the optics on this look terrible. You are suspending him.
Yeah. This is okay.
My blood boil.
Oh my goodness. This situation, man, like I agree with everything that you guys have said. Like I am mostly just in shock because he's a repeat offender. That's the biggest reason why this just doesn't make any sense to me. Like when I first saw what Wilson did, like, yeah, like this guy's probably done for the regular season and maybe some playoff games. Cause like he's done worse in the past. And this was pretty bad too, with 2 guys on the same night. And he was without a helmet too. I think that's a key thing. And he saw his helmet was off, obviously, and he still
he grabbed his hair.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
He knew the helmet wasn't on. You can't grab someone's hair.
The
if they're wearing a
Buchnevich
helmet.
thing too was just so dirty of a play, and I don't know how NHL players' safety doesn't really see that and see how that can be harmful and how that is suspendable. But I feel like if Wilson like does just a dirty hit, like nothing like he did on the game against the Rangers, but like if he just does like a cross check, dirty hit, like behind the net or something like that, that's suspendable for a guy like Tom Wilson. Like just like a dirty hit in general, he could be suspended for it. But for what Wilson did, to not get suspended at all and just be fined $5,000 makes 0 sense to me. And yeah, Panarin's out all year now. Well, 3 more games or whatever it is. That has to come into factor. You just injured a player. I know the Rangers aren't going to make the playoffs or anything like that, but still, that's a key guy that they just lost for the rest of the year. And Wilson is playing tonight, I think. So, yeah.
Yes.
That's a moneymaker for the league. They lost a moneymaker. And it's not to say you need to punish someone because they hurt a star player, because if it's an accident, it's an accident. But it clearly wasn't an accident.
No.
And the thing I've been trying to wrap my head around, too, is like, the NHL's a business. Everyone knows that. It's a business. Their first priority is to make money. How are you not going to take action against the guy that's hurting your potential to make more money as a business? This guy went after a star player. You can't convince me otherwise. He went after a star player. How does the NHL not take action?
Because it's a league who values violence and doesn't take violence seriously. Which, bouncing off of that, do you guys think George Peros should still be the head of the Department of Player Safety, or do you think he's not keeping players safe at this point? Where do you sort of stand on George Peros?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like how you said. I don't know. He's obviously a smart guy. Being in the position of a goon and being the guy that kind of dished out shit like that, he knows a thing or two about it. That being said, you'd think he'd be a little bit more sensitive to it and more hyper aware of it. And it just seems like it, not to undermine the guy, but like it seems like he doesn't care.
Yeah.
It seems like he doesn't care. Like, why? How does that go completely under the radar? But Pavel, oh my goodness, I can't get the last name.
Buchnevich.
Buchnevich, pardon me. Buchnevich, he couldn't. He was getting pissed off all shift, and because he snapped and cross-checked one guy, it was a dirty cross-check. By
It
itself,
was
that
worth a
cross-check
suspension.
is
Yeah.
suspendable. But if you're going to tell me that's suspendable and then not suspend what Wilson did,
Yeah.
like it makes me question what Peros is watching. What does he see? What is he looking at? Does he care about what just happened?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's questionable.
Yeah. Oh boy. I feel like maybe just the fact that like Peros was a goon, like you said, he feels for these players. He feels for Tom Wilson, and like, hey, I was in this spot too.
He
I
wasn't
hated
really a
being.
goon though.
Well, he
Like,
was a
he was a
physical
tough guy.
He was an
player. Yeah,
enforcer. He was an
a physical
enforcer.
player. He wasn't dirty, but he's a physical player, and maybe he relates to him somehow. Maybe he's just he's a really nice guy. He's just he doesn't want to see. He's a Capitals fan. That's why. He likes Tom Wilson. He likes him as a person. I don't know, but yeah, it doesn't make sense how like nobody got fired. Like somebody from NHL players safety needs to be fired ASAP because that suspension not suspending him was definitely the wrong call there. And yeah, and like Buchnevich's cross check on Mantha, like yeah, that's suspension worthy. But I think Wilson should have gotten way more than what Buchnevich got for sure.
So then, does the NHL have a Tom Wilson problem in that he's being too violent, or do they have a Department of Player Safety problem in that
Both.
they're not
I say
enforcing the rules?
I say the player safety is a problem. Because look at a guy like Brad Marchand. We all scream and shout Brad Marchand's name because he does some dumb shit. But he has never done anything like this. He's licked a guy, he's slew-footed people, he's given people cheap shots, spears. We've seen that stuff. And while it's dirty on its own, okay, a slew foot could be potentially career ending. Yeah. Most of that stuff isn't going to draw a guy's career. It's not going to cause any super long lasting effects.
Most of those plays aren't going to kill a person.
Yeah. You're not looking at serious injury on most of those. You're looking at you're looking at Brad Marchand getting under people's skin, which is his job. That's what Tom Wilson's job should be, to get underneath people's skin. But he's becoming violent now. Like that, you can't convince me that wasn't violent. So I don't think the issue lies with Tom Wilson because, again, that he's a repeat offender. I think the issue lies with NHL player safety now. This is in their hands. This isn't in Tom Wilson's hands. He's not going to fix how he acts. He's not. We've seen this before. He's done it again. He's not going to change. Finding him $5,000 isn't going to change him. So now it's up to the player safety, and I think it's an issue they have to deal with, and I think it's on them.
Yeah, I think it's kind of on both of them. Like I disagree with what either of them are doing, but yeah, like you said, like Wilson is the kind of player who has done this so many times, it doesn't seem like he's going to stop. And yeah, I just look at that Rangers game, for example, and like I think he would just keep doing it against the Rangers if they were to play like the next game against each other. And if he was playing like the entire game and he didn't leave, I think he could be getting himself into some more trouble because he just realized like, hey, they only fined me $5,000. I'm kind of free to let loose here. Maybe I can bang around a little bit more in this game and try and injure some more people. I don't know what's going to get Wilson to stop. Maybe one of the Rangers players should have taken a run at like Backstrom or something or gone after one of their star players just to be like, hey, if you do this to our guy, we're going to do it to your guy, and see what the league says about that. Because it's only a $5,000 fine, apparently. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Also, what was notable, I think, from that game was Zdeno Chara wasn't involved in any fights.
He was trying to get involved, like right off the
Yeah,
draw.
he looked
No,
at
I don't
someone.
think so.
No,
'Cause
he was eyeing one of the Rangers defensemen.
I don't think that was an eyeing. I think it was like they were having a conversation. I don't think he was close to dropping the gloves.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I should have specified.
Yeah. He wasn't trying to get in an altercation physically, I think is the way I should have put it. Because he could literally kill a person if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Like every time he gets in a fight, he holds back. I learned this last night. Apparently he's like a kickboxer too.
And
The
a
guy's
vegan, like he's like ripped.
Yeah. The guy's huge. Didn't he used to win the Bruins chin-up contest like every single year? And he's 6'9" and an animal. Like the guy is massive. So him not getting involved kind of sends a message to me. Like he doesn't fully agree with what Wilson did or what Wilson is doing.
Maybe.
Like he thinks it's a bit over the line. And this is a guy who played with Brad Marchand, who would get in scraps all the time for Brad Marchand. And here he is not doing anything for Tom Wilson.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that. That's very interesting.
Well, I think
he is getting older. I'll give him that. Maybe he doesn't want to take the risk anymore of getting punched in the face because getting punched in the face is not fun. I don't think anybody enjoys it, apart from maybe a UFC fighter. But nobody enjoys getting punched in the face. And maybe he's just reached a point in his career where he said, I don't want to fight anymore, as he fights in the next game. But what were you going to say, Ian?
No, I was just going to say, like, I don't think any of the Capitals players should agree with what Wilson did. And I understand why they had to do the line brawl. Like, I'm sure every single Rangers forward before the faceoff was like, hey, we're dropping the gloves right now. Like, you're dropping the gloves no matter what. Like, I'm going to jump you if you don't drop your gloves. And so that's kind of how the Capitals players had to do it. But I'm sure they were completely against what Wilson did. They thought it was unnecessary. They don't tolerate any of that stuff. And I mean, I'm sure like Laviolette has talked to Wilson about it already and like is trying to tell him like, hey, you got to watch yourself. Like it's playoff time now. We can't be having any of this stuff. We need you in the lineup. But I agree with Stefano. Like, I don't think this is going to end. Like, I think he's just going to keep on doing it unless, like I said, one of the Capitals players gets hurt because of Wilson's actions, and then it might have to stop, or he gets like a big suspension, which is what he should get. If he does something else, the next suspension, like half a season, like suspend him long time to really just sink that into him.
The last time they did that, though, the last time they suspended him for 20 games, he appealed and got down to 14.
Yeah, just smarten up, NHL player safety. Like, don't for more than 20 games next time, and don't accept an appeal. Like, this guy has to be put in his place at this point.
They have to accept an appeal. It's in the CBA. And arbitrator issued the 14 games. Bettman upheld the 20. Yeah, but I get your point. I want to know, though, because you did just mention it. Like, what do you think will get him to stop? What do you think will get him to stop? Because I worry that if somebody hurts one of his guys, he's going to get even more dirty.
Yeah.
And that's not going to clean his game up. Do you think the NHL has to do, or what do you think the Capitals have to do to, I guess, rein in Tom Wilson?
Wait. Yeah. Well, why instead of running at like Ovechkin or Backstrom, I think the Rangers just got to jump Wilson. Just injured him.
They tried that, and it didn't work. The guy got beaten up.
You need like more guys to come in here. It's not Brandon Smith, not the small guy. You need like someone else to come in.
Did you see this George Laraque tweet?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like sign me, right?
Sign me for a day. I'll handle Wilson.
Yeah. I don't know what's gonna get him to stop. Like, yeah, suspend him for an entire year, I think.
I was thinking when it happened, when this whole instance happened, I thought before any of the whole debate happened, I'm like, they're gonna suspend this guy for the rest of the regular season and probably 1 to 2 playoff rounds. I thought that was gonna be a fair enough suspension, because I look at a playoff game, and I think that counts for about 2 or 3 regular season games. I'm looking at him going, they're going to suspend this guy for the rest of the regular season and some duration of the playoffs. Now that all of this happened and he got away with nothing and Buchnevich got a game, I'm looking at more what Aiden said. I'm like, they're going to suspend this guy for half the season. They have to. Is that what's going to stop him? But even then, I'm still questioning it. I'm not sure if that suspension is going to stop him. Is it going to make him nastier? Like, it's so up in the air.
That's why I think it's not all on NHL player safety, and it has to be Wilson that really has to just take action and smarten up and not put him in risk of being suspension and be a dirty player and put his team in a bad situation. It's both sides. It can't just be one side suspending him and then Wilson coming back and doing the same thing. When he comes back, he has to smarten up.
All right. And I guess we'll wrap up by asking you guys about the fine and sort of the Rangers' reaction to the entire Tom Wilson situation, which includes firing the president and GM, issuing the statement, getting fined $250,000 by the NHL, and then in-game the 6 fights and over 100 minutes in penalty minutes. Do you think that the New York Rangers handled this situation correctly, or what do you think they could have done or should have done better?
The only thing I'm kind of confused on is where did the statement come from? Who was involved in issuing the statement? Do you know?
The rumors and sort of understanding is it's James Dolan, who's the owner of the Rangers, who told the PR department to release the statement.
But then the president and their head coach, obviously, are the two that just got fired a day or two ago.
President and GM were the ones fired who apparently tried to distance themselves from the statement, saying they didn't agree with it. And then Dolan found out, I assume.
See, then the way I think about it is that Dolan handled the situation well.
Seems very weird to say and feels very wrong, but yes.
It does. But if I'm thinking, if I'm a part of the Rangers organization, and yeah, we'll go from that standpoint. As just a person and not thinking business-wise, I think Dolan did the right thing. I think he's protecting one of his players, and I think he's saying, I don't care what you find me, because for $250,000 for him, for
That's
the Rangers
pocket money. He's a billionaire. He owns the New York Knicks. Like
it's nothing. It's nothing.
He's not short on money.
I think for him, I think it's him saying, I think it's him taking a stand for his player. I think it's, and I would hope to God he would do that for any other player on his team. I hope to God he would do that for a fourth line player that only puts up 20 points a season.
Yeah.
Because I'd be ashamed if it were just for Panarin. But I think what he did was right. I think firing the president and GM is also a little sleazy just because they didn't agree with it, and you're not always going to have people that agree with you, but at the same time you want to have an organization that backs up the players.
I agree with that. Yep. I think it's all about character at the end of the day, and like it's not, I know it's a business, but obviously the president believed that doing this was the right thing to do, and he didn't have people on his team that would back him up, and to win, to create a championship. Yeah,
president and GM were fired.
Yeah, sorry. The owner. The president and GM obviously didn't agree with what he was doing. So to create like a championship environment and create a good community, I guess, in your front office and an entire organization, you need guys to back up your players. So I definitely agree with what he was trying to do and the message he was trying to convey. There's no way that the Rangers should have been suspended for that. I can't believe that's not suspended, fined. 250 suspended. No one got suspended out of this. But yeah, I think it was the right move. Obviously, like even from a publicity standpoint, like the Rangers aren't really getting any backlash for their statement, as much as I've seen at least. So I think it was the right thing to do.
I saw more people arguing about what Tom Wilson did over the statement that the Rangers released. I didn't see anyone complaining about the statement the Rangers released, but I saw everyone talking and posting about what Tom Wilson did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. It's their statement is diminishing the NHL and their Department of Player Safety, but you need to look. You don't make money if people aren't happy with you.
And in reference to your, I hope it happens to everybody else, this is the same team that kept Tony DeAngelo employed and signed him to a contract extension, and the ones who did basically nothing for Keandre Miller when he was subject to that racist attack in the Zoom call.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see, but I think we should wrap up the Rangers Capitals discussion there. We spent like half an hour on it.
Could go on and on.
Yeah, we could go on and on forever, but I do want to dive into some other things, and we don't want to keep you forever, because we do have a lot of stuff we want to touch on. But specifically, since we last talked, US TV deal was announced. The two partners are ESPN and TNT. ESPN is the rights holder to package A, which is the better package, and then TNT has package B, which is the worst package. ESPN is paying, I believe, $400 million per season for the rights for 7 years, and TNT is paying, I believe, it's $220 million per season for 7 years. But big move for the NHL overall. Having hockey back on ESPN for the first time since the lockout, or before the lockout. That's huge in terms of potential growth. TNT, obviously, we've seen the success that they've had with basketball, so hopefully that happens the same thing with hockey. But there's already been some on-air talent potentially on the move. Eddie Olczyk has reportedly agreed to a 5-year contract to be the main analyst for TNT. He will still be allowed to do his horse racing on ESPN, so don't worry, horse fans. I don't know if either of you knew that was the thing. I didn't until they announced this, but so he'll be main analyst for TNT, and apparently Ray Ferraro is in line to be ESPN's main analyst. So what that entails in terms of him still working with TSN, who knows? Obviously ESPN, TNT, they're partners, so maybe he still does TSN games. Who really knows? But that is apparently in the works. What I want to know, though, and what I want to go deep dive into is obviously the NBA on TNT, very well known for their panel of Shaq, Charles Barkley, Eddie the Jet Smith, and Ernie Johnson. So I want you guys to make your NHL panels. Your dream NHL panel on TNT. Who is it and what does it look like? We're going to do live action, so play-by-play color and ringside reporter. And then we'll do panel, which is host and 3 analysts, following the same model as NBA on TNT. And then at the very end, we haven't discussed this before the podcast, so we're going to debate live on air what we think the actual panel will look like.
Okay.
Not what we want it to be, what we think it will look like. So, who wants to go first? We'll start off live action for everyone, then we'll do panel for everyone.
Okay.
Who wants to go first?
I go first.
Aiden, you go.
I'll give it a shot, All right. I think, play by play, growing up, obviously, there's one name that really sticks out at me, Leafs fan. Doesn't get too much airtime on television, but I think, he should get more. I think in my early childhood, he was like the play-by-play guy.
Radio.
Sorry?
He wanted to shift to radio.
He wanted to shift to radio?
Oh. Yeah.
Okay, well, you know what? Hey, if he signs this new deal, he might have to be on TV. Joe Bowen, the famous Holy Mackinac. I think I want to hear that call a little bit more with some other teams, not just Leafs. I think he probably has the best voice for a play-by-play guy in hockey for sure. There's definitely other guys, but I think he has the best. He has the best goal call. He gets so hyped for his celebrations when goals go in. Yeah, I won't rant too much. He's just a great guy. Color, Ray Ferraro. Like, he's probably the best in the game at analyzing the plays.
He is.
Sorry?
He simply is. Period.
Yeah,
I don't
he
think
is.
there's a debate.
Exactly. He does the World Juniors. He does Leafs. He does some NBC stuff. The way that he breaks down the plays and sees stuff in between the benches or up in the booth, like, it's just next to none. And he's played too, so he knows the game. And yeah, he's a great color guy. Ringside reporter, and I was kind of going, I guess, back and forth between some options here. Like, I think Kyle Bukauskas is a guy who's really underestimated, and he has done a great job in the past, like 3-4 seasons at Sportsnet. I think he's an up and coming guy, young face. I think people
Great
like him.
hair.
Great hair, exactly. But I think I got to go with Christine Simpson. I think she's one of the best, like, interviewers that Sportsnet has. And you see now she has, like, that other segment that she's doing with some, like, players on, like, Zoom. So she's just really good at talking and communicating to the players and getting some good stories, talking to the fans. I remember that interview that sticks out to me of Matthews' 4-goal game and her going up into the stands and interviewing his parents. So I think she's a good candidate. All right, as for the panel, and I'm
We'll
surprised.
wait for the panel. We'll all do the panel together. So we'll all do color or like live, and then we'll do panel.
Let's
Just
go.
a bit clearer so people get an understanding
Fair
of
enough.
what we're going with. So Stefano, I'll let you go next. Who is your live action group?
So, as much as I agree with Joe Bowen, I have him as my second pick. And that's because the amazing Bob Cole would be my dream play-by-play guy. Both of them, I put them on a similar playing field. I think, like how Aiden was saying, with the excitement they bring, how hyped they get for a goal, and just like their voices, again, it's the Leaf fan talking in me, and it's very reminiscent, but I think they've got the voice for it. If I want to hear someone get hyped about a goal, a huge overtime goal in a playoff series, even in regular season, it's them. They, for me, are like the icons of play-by-play. And like I said, it is kind of biased as a Leaf fan, but when I look across the league and I listen along, and whether it's through radio or television, whatever it may be, I don't really find that level of excitement in play-by-play guys like with those two. So that's why I take them. Color, Ray Ferraro, like how you guys mentioned. I don't think there's going to be too much arguing there. I think he's the best, plain and simple. And he's not just knowledgeable, he also presents it well. He's entertaining to watch. He's easy to listen to. I don't think I'm going to get too much rebuttal there.
No.
And the Rinkside reporter, I've also got another 2 picks because I couldn't pick one. I like Christine Simpson for all the same reasons that Aiden does. I think her interview skills are incredible. I think she talks with her interviewees very, very fluently, and it seems very natural. And that specific interview with Austin Matthews' parents does ring a bell. And I think it's a great example of that. The other person I was stuck on is Scott Oak, who works alongside Ron McLean and Don Cherry when he was still a part of the crew there on Hockey Night in Canada. And I say that because I feel like Scott Oak also shares that voice for it. I think he's kind of grown to be a staple for myself, and it is still sort of biased, but I think he's very cemented in that role, and you can tell he's comfortable with it. It's very they're quick hits, obviously, but I feel like he gets off a good amount of information, and I think he's just the right guy for the role. I feel like a lot of this is in some way biased in my dream team of it. It's hard. It's tough.
It is. It's very tough. I went with Gord Miller. I love Gord. I think he's the best. I think he's the best current play-by-play person in hockey. Chris Cuthbert probably has a bit of an argument to make there, but I really, really like Gord. I think he has great chemistry with everyone he works with. So I'm with him. I had to go with Ray as well. Ray Ferraro he's a legend. He's the best in the business.
And them working together too, right? That's
exactly
like really good. Yeah.
The chemistry between them is unmatched in hockey. And then Christine Simpson. Again, I think she's one of the best ringside reporters in hockey. I was close going Kyle Bukauskas because I think there will be a youth element to the TNT panel, but we'll discuss that when we actually debate who we think it will be. But yeah, I went with Christine Simpson. What are your panels looking like? We'll go same order. Keep it a little bit more brief in terms of your explanations for each person. But panel, Aiden,
Ron McLean is the host. Ron McLean is the legend from Oakville, Ontario. I see you guys put someone else, and I agree with that too. Like, they're both great. I was flip-flopping between the two, but yeah, I think Ron's done it for a long, long time. He's just great in front of the camera. Second analyst, Bob McKenzie. He knows so much about everything. NHL, juniors, the amateur players. He's always around the rink, and he just loves to talk hockey. When I think of NHL on TSN, I think of Bob McKenzie. Then Elliot Friedman, just his like insider information, like the reports that he has, like trade rumors, player signing, stuff like that. He's always on his phone. I think he adds some versatility to that panel because Bob McKenzie's not too much in talks with like the trades. Elliot brings that nice side. And then the third analyst, I think you got to have some like comedic aspect to it. So we got Jeff O'Neill, the O-Dog. I think him and Bob McKenzie definitely have some chemistry there. Former player, just a bit of a fun guy to add to the panel. Yep.
All right, Stefano, what's your panel looking like?
Not all that different. My only major difference here is James Duthie as my host. I was also thinking Ron McLean, but I think overall James Duthie is a bit more of an entertainer. I think he's a bit more exciting. Not that I find Ron McLean boring. It's just that I think if I'm going to be watching one guy more often, I would rather it be James Duthie. My first two analysts, similar to yours, are Bob McKenzie and Elliot Friedman. I like what Bob McKenzie brings to the table in terms of analysis and his analysis of up-and-coming players and players in junior leagues. I find his knowledge there to be really strong, and I think that's important because we're moving into an era of hockey where the young guys are taking over, and I think it's really important to have someone who's strong in analyzing that. Elliot Friedman, same deal as you. He's always on his phone. He knows a lot. He's a really strong insider for all the same reasons that you said. And my last one, I was stuck between Craig Button and Darren Dreger. Both really strong support guys, I find. I don't think I wouldn't necessarily give them the lead role in this panel, but I think they're both really strong supporting guys. They're both have strong insider roles. And they both know what to do with the information they're given. If I'm not mistaken, Craig Button was a GM for a scouting. I think he was the lead scout for a couple teams. My mistake. So I think he can support Bob McKenzie really well. And Darren Dreger, I know, also has a lot of experience in managerial roles. So I think that's those are both good kind of supporting guys for those two main analysts, in Friedman and McKenzie.
All right. I went a little bit different than you guys. I stuck with James Duthie because he's probably one of the best hosts in hockey, and I think he'd fit what TNT would really want, and he's entertaining. So I went Duthie, big fan of him, as always. Always have been. But first analyst, I'll go with the analyst that both of you had first. Obviously, Elliot Friedman. I think having an insider on that panel is big. I think it's very important in hockey, and I think his analysis is pretty decent. I tried to stick away from people who weren't in the business really anymore, specifically Mackenzie, who's retiring, and Bob Cole, and also Joe Bowen in a way. But yeah, so I went Elliot Friedman, same reasons that both of you guys went. My second analyst, or I guess analyst one I have Mike Johnson. He's done work with TSN. I like him because I think he incorporates advanced statistics well, and I think he's very good at breaking the game down. And I think that's going to be a really beneficial addition to TNT so that he can make things simple and understandable and interesting, and also incorporate advanced analytics, which I think are the future of hockey in general. Um, so while he isn't the biggest analyst now, I'm a fan of him, and I think he'd be a very good addition. And my final analyst, Kevin Bieksa. He has been a revelation for Sportsnet, Hockey Night in Canada. His personality, his energy, just everything about him, I think is a really, really beneficial to a broadcast. And he adds I think the chemistry that he could build with Mike Johnson, who's a former player, Friedman, who's already willing to give it between him and Bieksa, and James Duthie, who's already hilarious. I think that would be a really, really, really good panel. And I think 4 people who would work really well together in general. But let's dive into what we deem our crew. What do we predict to be TNT's final crew? We'll go with ESPN because I think they'll be easier. TNT will sort of get the fillers in a way. But what is our main crew? I guess we can fill in for color now because it's sort of confirmed.
Yeah.
Ray Ferraro.
Yeah.
Sounds like that's going to happen. What do you guys think about play-by-play? Who do you think is going to make the transition to lead play-by-play for ESPN?
I liked your idea on Gord Miller. I think you raise a good point. I'm not 100% sold on it, but I definitely see the potential, and I definitely understand why they would value him in that position there. He is definitely one of the best.
Yeah.
I think if you take him and you put him in a larger role like that, I think he'll excel too, because right now he's stuck with just his team. But I think if you take him and put him in a bigger role, I think he might do better than he is already.
Yeah, obviously not this season. He isn't doing it, but he also does work with NBC. He's an NBC play-by-play guy as well. So
is he doing it for the playoffs? I think he does some stuff.
Probably
this playoffs coming up. Yeah,
I'd assume he'll do the Canadian games for NBC here.
Yeah, exactly.
But he does have experience in the US, is my point. So do you guys think it's going to be Gordon Miller, or do you think it'll be somebody like Cuthbert, who just switched from TSN to Sportsnet?
I think they would want to keep Gord Miller with Ray Ferraro as much as they can. So I'll say
that's a good tandem.
They have so much chemistry on TSN, and TSN is going to be losing 2 great people, obviously.
Not necessarily. He could still do broadcasts with them.
Yeah, true. But not like as many. And then like I just hope they still do World Juniors. That's all I hope.
Ooh,
oh, definitely.
Hopefully.
Definitely. They both love it. Like I know for a fact Gord just loves doing the World Juniors. I don't think he'll give that up. That will be written into his contract. He's able to do it. Like Eddie Olczyk in the horse racing. Because... what are you thinking about Rinkside Reporter though? Because I don't think Christine Simpson leaves Sportsnet. I think it has to be somebody younger.
I was thinking Kyle Bukauskas. I think he does bring a really good younger element to it, like how you guys mentioned. And he's good at it. Like you can tell he enjoys it. Like,
yeah,
he's the guy besides Christine Simpson that I think of when you say that. I said Scott Oak before because, like I said, it's a bit biased. But I think if you're thinking of general skill and just naturality at it, I think like Bukauskas is the way to go.
I don't know. I feel like we're so off on these. Like they're probably looking at some guys from the States, just some random people working for like the Coyotes. You know,
Paul
I don't know,
Bissonnette.
just some random people. Like,
Bring in
Yeah, this is a very
I don't
Canadian
know.
biased decision.
Yeah,
Like,
obviously.
selection.
Like, well,
We
because
could
we think.
say we'll say only from Canada for this panel because
Okay,
we
sure.
don't know the states well enough, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they would probably want to go for a younger guy as well. It's a new brand, obviously. They want to bring the youth audience in. I don't think they want someone older like Christine or Scott Oak. But is there any option other than Kyle Bukauskas? Or
Sean
I know there's
McKenzie.
Sean McKenzie. Yeah. I like Bukauskas a lot better.
I can't remember who
I
does.
feel like there must be other options, no?
Yeah, there are like each team is their own ringside reporter. I
Right,
just
for
can't remember
sure.
any of their names off the top of my head.
I know there's some guy from the Penguins that's like okay. I forget his name though. Yeah, off the top of my head, I guess it's Kyle Bukauskas. He's the go-to guy. He's the best other than Christine Simpson.
All right, so I guess we're going Kyle Bukauskas.
Good luck spelling that.
I definitely spelled it wrong. But move on to the panel. Who is your host? I don't think it's James Duthie. I don't think TSN lets him go.
I don't think it's Ron McLean either.
Yeah, no, it's not Ron McLean.
I think it's David Amber.
Wow.
I think they want to.
No,
they want
I
to get
don't think so.
representation.
I don't think so because I think Ron's gonna leave soon, and Sportsnet's gonna want to fall back on David Amber. Like David Amber's already doing like the third periods and the late games. I think they want to hang on to him because McLean might have like a couple of years left.
Then is it Jeff Merrick?
I could see that.
But Jeff Merrick is good too. I don't see them letting him go either.
I think
I
they keep. I think they keep Jeff over David because Jeff does more stuff with Sportsnet.
Right, and then Jeff could just take over the late game.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Jeff Merrick has a much more fruitful career there.
Okay.
And I think that's why they're not going to let him go.
And I think representation is going to be huge for ESPN. Having a person of color as a host, I think that'd be big.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially for hockey, which is still stuck on that narrative of being like a white boy club.
Very white. Well, it is very white. Like
yeah, I think that's huge actually. I think that'd be a good reason why they would take him.
I think it's David Amber. Honestly. So, yeah, I'll put David Amber down.
Sure.
Here's the hard part: the analysts.
Well, it's not Bob McKenzie.
It's not going to be Bob McKenzie.
Not Elliot.
I don't think it. I could see it being Elliot.
Really?
I could see Sportsnet going Chris Johnson as their lead insider because Chris Johnson's he's only in his 30s, right?
Is he only in his 30s?
Elliot would get a big payday.
Elliot would get a huge payday.
Yeah, and I think Elliot's a very well-rounded one. I think he's just a super well-rounded pick. I also see Sportsnet having a very hard time letting him go.
I don't think Sportsnet want to let him go, but I don't know if they have the money to convince him not to go.
Also true.
Okay, maybe we should go with someone else to start. Maybe
I don't know. Okay. This is going to be the hard one.
This is the hard one.
This is the hard one. Exactly. I want to get the easy ones out of the way.
I liked Mike Johnston.
You like Mike Johnson?
I think he has a very real opportunity of ending up on ESPN.
I think Mike Johnson takes over for Ray Ferraro at TSN.
Oh, touche.
Takes over that role.
Touche.
Okay.
I don't know.
What about like Darren Dreger then? Does he join the panel? He's also.
I think Darren Dreger takes over for Bob McKenzie though. Because other than that, who's their insider?
All right. O-Dog. We got Jeff O'Neill going over to the States then.
I could see O-Dog doing it, but again, I think TSN have a tough time letting him go because he does overdrive too.
Yeah,
he's big on overdrive.
That's huge.
Gino Reda. I'm just throwing out names now.
This is a tough one.
I think it's Kevin Bieksa.
I
I
was
think
gonna
Kevin
say
VX is one
VX,
of them.
yeah, younger guy.
More
A lot of
personality.
personality.
You know,
Yeah.
I want to mention his name, Sean Avery. I don't know if you guys follow Sean Avery on Instagram,
No, no, no,
Oh,
no, no,
but
no,
but
no.
all of last playoffs, he would watch literally every single NHL game on NBC and just
No.
roast the broadcast and tag them in everything and say that he could do a much better job. So I don't know if there's a
No.
chance. And I watch all of his stories. Like he does
No.
a really good job of analyzing stuff and pointing out key plays that players make. It's not gonna happen, but I would like to see it. It would be hilarious. It would get views. Sean Avery.
And he'd get fired immediately for something you do outside of work. Like, the guy is not
That's
a
the
good
issue.
person.
Outside of
not a
work.
nice guy.
Yo, you should watch his Instagram stories. All he does is like protect the New York bike community.
Yeah.
Like whenever there's like a
Exactly.
truck
That's the
parked like in
problem.
the bike lane, he just goes up to the truck and like films the guy. Just like, hey, why are you parked here? Like, move! I'm trying to bike.
It's
No.
so funny.
He was in Tenet, by the way, the movie Tenet.
I didn't even watch that.
Yeah.
I want to.
When?
What do you mean when? When it came out?
No, like,
Movie
when
Tenet.
is he in the movie?
For like one part, he gets like 2 lines, I think. He's like in this truck as they're going somewhere. It's like near the final scene.
Damn.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, congratulations to Sean Avery. How did we get here?
I brought up Sean
I'm trying to
Avery's
get him
name,
on the
but-
panel.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not on the panel. I am vetoing that with
Yeah.
all of my power.
Yeah, I knew. I just wanted to mention it.
I don't know. I don't know who they take on this panel. I think
Patrick
they're going to
Sharp?
try to.
No. I don't think Patrick Sharp is good.
No.
I watched some of that NBC
No.
stuff. What about like Kevin Weeks on
I could
just
see Kevin Weeks.
NHL Network?
Oh,
You mentioned.
I think he gets hired by an NHL team, though.
but I think he'll make more money from ESPN. And if I'm him, I'm thinking I'm getting more exposure on ESPN than with an NHL team. And I'd rather go there. If he's looking to get into a career of this, ESPN is the go-to.
No, I think he gets hired as a GM
Oh,
or an AGM.
Oh,
His name has always been in there. He was in there with the Pittsburgh position.
huh.
I think he's involved in that. I'll put Kevin Weeks. I think that's a good answer because
ooh, I got a good one. I think.
Kevin Weeks is one of them. We'll go with Kevin Weeks. I like that pick.
So,
It just may be short term, depending on if he gets hired. What's your one, Aiden? If you
I don't
say
know if
Pierre
this makes-
McGuire, I swear to
no,
God.
I'm not gonna say Pierre McGuire. I don't know if this is possible, but Kendall Coyne Schofield could be a pretty good analyst. American, so she's already from the States. Female hockey player. I think she's still playing though. That's the only thing.
She's also employed by the Blackhawks, I think, as like a development person. But I do like Kendall Coyne Schofield. That's
or
a
like
good
just
option.
any other American women's hockey player, I think could work out. Like Amanda Kessel.
Maybe.
I don't know how much experience she would have being on air and talking, but I feel like there should be a female on the panel as well.
I just had an idea, but I'm kind of bouncing around in my head whether or not it's good. Kate Burness, and let me explain.
She'd be a good host.
She's great. First of all, she is awesome. I think it handles that issue you were having before about getting a female on the panel, and I think I agree with you on host. I don't know how good she would be as an analyst because she's definitely more geared towards basketball.
Yeah.
However, I have seen her as a ringside reporter on Leafs games a handful of times.
Who's our host right now? Who's our panel host?
David Amber.
Yeah, it's Amber.
Right, he can't be an analyst.
No. I don't think Kate Burness would be an analyst. But I think she might be suitable as host.
She could. I think she'll stick with basketball. Although
That's my
maybe
only thing.
they go with Kayla Gray instead of TSN full time,
That's not a bad idea.
and then they let Kate
Mhm.
Burness go to ESPN. Wouldn't be the first time somebody's graduated to ESPN. Nabil Kareem, didn't he do that?
I think
Maybe.
so.
Yeah.
It's
So then Kate's an analyst then?
A host.
A
We'd have
host?
you could make her an analyst as well, but the issue is that she is definitely more of a basketball expert compared to a hockey expert.
who is the woman who does that out in Calgary? I'm blanking on her name.
Oh, I know the face, but I don't.
Yeah. Oh God, she's a famous person. Oh, she has a famous last name too.
Hockey?
Yeah. Cassie Campbell Pascal.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What about her as an analyst?
I could see that.
Yeah, she's already the analyst on Hockey Night in Canada. She could.
I think they do Cassie Campbell Pascal.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. If we're trying to push the representation thing, like we think they'll be very open to that.
Would she want to do that? She might want to stay in Canada.
That's a good point.
I don't know, guys. Maybe we should just say that.
I feel like if we decided what kind of roles we wanted, it would probably be better because we could sit here and pick and choose for
Okay.
hours.
We've got the serious analyst in Kevin Weeks.
Mhm.
Who's the sort of old school Shaq, old school, funny, entertaining?
I don't know if you go old school though. I think you go new school.
Well, I mean, like maybe not old school, but like the older funny. You know, like Shaq
Like
is
Kevin
very.
Bieksa.
Then
You think Kevin
that's
Bieksa?
exactly what I was gonna say
Okay.
too.
Yeah.
So
I think we have to break this down into roles because we're gonna go back and forth forever. It's too hard to pick them.
All right, and then finally, our final analyst spot, we need the Charles Barkley, who is the fun, outgoing, more new school,
Yeah.
vibe sort of things. Who is that?
Pavel Barber. I don't know. I'm just.
That would be an interesting one.
Yeah.
Ryan Whitney.
No,
I was in agreement with that.
I don't.
I
think
was
so.
joking.
Yes.
Oh, really?
I could see it, but like,
Yeah, I
it's
think that'd be
definitely
good.
not going to happen.
He's too controversial. Like
Yeah,
it's the
true.
same
Yeah.
thing with
He
Sean
wouldn't leave the
Avery.
podcast too. I don't think.
Well, he could do both feasibly, but I think he's too controversial.
Yeah. He's going to raise some
So-
eyebrows.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Paul Bissonnette.
No,
He's still
No, we
he's
can't go back
controversial, but he's more well respected, I guess.
I don't know about that.
If they tame him some way, maybe.
That's true. They do need to tame him. That's yeah.
But they did it with Kevin Bieksa. Like that's why
Yeah.
I was surprised to see him take on such a great role there. It's definitely doable.
What
But
about
then
like
you've got two similar guys on the panel.
Yeah.
what about like David Backus? He's retiring at the end of the year. He's played in the States, a couple teams, fresh
about
out of the
Bruce-
league.
What about Bruce Boudreau?
Yeah, he's been working with NHL Network too, I believe.
Bruce Boudreau.
But
Loves doing TV
he
stuff.
could be a coach though. Still,
That's the issue is does he want to get into coaching? And I don't know if they'll hire him. Anyone will hire him. Let's put in blank or just no name coach. So a coach who just hasn't been like who's currently unemployed, like the Mike Babcock or the those kind of guys.
Sure.
That work?
Yeah, I can get behind that.
Let's just put Babcock in for now.
No,
Just
because
to
he's
say.
going to get hired by Buffalo, but that's another conversation. So our live action lineup: Gord Miller, Ray Ferraro, Kyle Bukauskas.
Oh, that's lethal.
That's lethal lineup. Our panel: David Amber. I'm going to put in /
Kate Burness.
Kate Burness. Yes. Oh, how do you spell Berness? Is it that?
Beirness.
EIR. Yeah, you got it.
All right. Good. I'm good at spelling. Kate Berness / David Amber. Analyst 1, Kevin Weeks. Analyst 2, very heavy on the Kevins, I just realized. Kevin Bieksa. Third,
Segment. I sense a segment. The two Kevins or something.
There we go. Analyst 3, blank name coach / retired player.
Yeah. Cool.
There we go.
Solid.
Now, let's move on from hockey. I want to hit this quickly because I still have to eat food. I haven't eaten yet today.
Yeah, same.
Oh my God.
So, yes. Look, I got up late, okay? I'm not used to this. Raptors. Is it time to call this season and go full tank? 4 games behind Washington, who have the last 4 games behind Washington, who have the last play-in round spot in 10th. 5 games left to go in the season. Time to tank? Yes or no?
Yeah,
for sure.
It's tough to say because they didn't have as bad as a season as I think people projected. But it's not panning out. I'm sorry. And when you look at their competition in the East, and then when you look at what they might have to, even if they make it that far, if you look at what they'll have to face in the West, like, I don't like to look at other teams and base your decision off of how other teams are doing. I think that's a poor way to lead a team and to push a team. But they're not going to be able to compete with the powerhouses in the West. They're not going to be able to compete with the Brooklyn Nets. You know,
I think they could. I think it could compete with any team in the East. I just think they're too far out of it at this point.
That's the other thing. It's just, I think it's too ambitious. I think there's more in it for them if they tank and try to get a higher pick.
I don't think they're going to tank. I think they're going to try and compete and try and make it, and they just won't make it. I don't think they're going to like lose games on purpose or anything like that.
Well, they didn't play Kyle Lowry last night against the Washington Wizards, against the team that they're trying to catch in the Washington Wizards.
Is he injured or is it just like a healthy scratch?
It was a rest day.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, they are trying to maybe lose then.
Yeah, and if they tank, I think they can get like the 7th overall pick, almost guaranteed. So, added the 7th overall pick in a deep draft this season. That's a team. That is a team. So, other question I have for the Raptors and for you guys: do you re-sign Kyle Lowry after the emergence of Malachi Flynn this season and how well he's done, or do you try to somehow figure out a sign and trade with Philadelphia, who are reportedly interested in doing that? What do you think the Raptors do with Kyle Lowry this offseason?
That's a tough one because it's hard to let go of Kyle Lowry. I'm not too deep into NBA knowledge or statistics, I should say, pardon. But as more of a fan, it's tough to get rid of Lowry. You know, like he's the heart and soul of the team. However, his career is far from done, but I think his career with the Raptors is done. And I think if you want to see him succeed, and like from my standpoint, from more of a fan standpoint and a more knowledgeable than the average fan standpoint, I think you want to see him succeed. And I think that trade and sign deal with Philly is the best thing for him. He goes home, he plays on a great team. You know, I think that's the best solution. It hurts to see him go, but I think also logically for the team, I think it makes the most sense.
Sorry,
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it makes sense for the Raptors too, because they get assets for him.
Yeah.
When they wouldn't if he went to Miami.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was just going to say, like, it's a win-win for both teams. Like, Lowry goes home. He has a chance to win a championship with that core and help the young guys in that locker room. And then the Raptors don't lose Lowry for nothing, and they get back some assets. But ultimately, I think it's just going to come down to what Lowry wants to do. I think the Raptors will we'll just listen to what Kyle says. Like, he's given so much to Toronto, and if he wants to stay, then the Raptors will re-sign him at the right price, obviously. But if he wants out, and if he doesn't think he's going to be getting much playing time next year, and he wants to have a bigger role on another team, a team that might be closer to winning a championship, then I think the Raptors are okay with moving on.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to a petulant child against the greatest boxer of all time in Jake Paul versus Floyd Mayweather yesterday.
Well, it's Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather
in the fight, but yesterday it was Jake Paul against Floyd Mayweather. What were your thoughts on how Jake treated Floyd?
A child.
Yeah.
Jake Paul was like, I'll get my manager on it, and I'll get my manager on it. He was yelling that at him. And when Floyd Mayweather, when I saw the video on Instagram, when Floyd Mayweather looked at him and goes, "I'm my own boss. Let's do this right now." I'm like, there is not a universe where either of the Paul brothers beat the greatest boxer of all time in a fight.
I could see Logan doing it only because he's so much bigger than Floyd. If he just uses his reach and keeps him away, I could see it. It's the chances about that, but I could see it. Jake, on the other hand, isn't as big as Logan and would get absolutely hammered.
I think they both get hammered. I think they
Probably.
both get hammered.
I
think a combination of Floyd's speed, his strength, his technique, I don't think there's any way Logan beats him.
Okay, I got a question. And I did a podcast on this yesterday, so I'm very fresh off of it.
Nice.
First round, when the bell rings, what does Floyd Mayweather do? Does he put on a show? Does he go for the knockout? What happens?
Feels him out.
Feels him out. Feels him out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Floyd is arguably the better fighter, but I agree with that. I think he's not stupid. He's not stupid. He's not going to run out there guns blazing and play very high risk, high reward, even though a flashy knockout would be incredible.
Yes.
But he's a smart fighter, first and foremost. I don't think he rushes it and risks an injury or getting knocked out.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He's also an entertainer. That's like the thing with Mayweather. Like, his fights against basically anyone. Like, he hasn't ended a fight that early in a long, long time. The fight with McGregor, he basically carried McGregor for the first 9 rounds of the fight. And then he decided, hey, I'm going to turn on the pressure. I'm going to knock this guy out right now because he can. He's Mayweather. He can do it. In this Logan Paul fight, if he goes for the kill right away, in which I have a feeling he might have bigger intentions of doing that now just because of what Jake did yesterday. He might be fighting with anger, and he threatened to kill Jake. Like he said, I'll kill the man. So if he uses that same anger against Logan, knowing that, hey, I'm going to fight both of the Pauls now. I'm going to fight Logan, and then I'm going to fight Jake after, because I do think that fight's going to happen, and it might even do better than this Logan fight.
Oh, it'll do better. It'll do better because everybody hates Jake at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone hates Logan because he's become a better person.
Logan's a better guy. Yeah.
Everybody hates Jake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I want Logan to win this fight. Obviously, I really want to see it.
Wow.
I do want to see Logan win.
That's an interesting take.
I don't know why. I don't hate Logan anymore. I used to hate Logan. During the KSI fights, I wanted KSI to win. And Connor, we watched the fight, or we're watching at the same time. We were talking in between. We both wanted KSI to win. But now, just watching Logan's transformation, and he's actually a good person. And if you hear his comments afterwards, after the whole press conference and what Jake what Jake did, he didn't want Jake to take his hat. He told him not to, actually. And I think he apologized to Floyd afterwards, because I think the last thing he wanted was to make this a mockery and make it a joke. But I guess just going back to my first point, if Mayweather knocks out Logan Paul in the first round, people are going to think this fight was a joke. Just like the Jake Paul Ben Askren fight. They want to make this one of the best fights in history and make over $100 million on it. It can't be over that quick. It's got to go 4 rounds, So Mayweather can feel him out, a little bit.
4 or 5.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with Connor. If Logan lands a punch, it might not be. It could even be a body shot that does it to end him. And I'm also worried about, like, is Mayweather going to be able to, like, punch that high, like, on Logan? Like, he's pretty tall.
Yeah, no, I don't think Mayweather has a problem. I think his experience alone is enough to bring him on his way to fight Logan.
Yeah.
I act like Logan is like this big and scary beast. He's not all that. But
Yeah.
I think on experience alone.
Yeah.
We're still a few weeks away. I think what we do just before the fight, I think we do like a giant thing, Aiden, and on like the big league, maybe a live stream or a video where we just get a bunch of people on to talk about this fight.
That would actually be awesome.
That'd be so much fun.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we got to do that. We'll do that. So expect that on our YouTube channel at some point. I'm sure you'll be one of them, Stefano. And we'll have to figure out who the other. We'll have to figure out who the other boxing UFC fans are and get them on too.
I think maybe Skylar would want to come on for that because we talked to him about that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. We get Skylar. Eric, I think, is big into that. Julian, I assume, is too.
He likes it. Liam's got some interesting takes on boxing. Some pretty funny takes. Might be worth considering.
We'll see how many people we can get on. Like, it's gonna end up like the entire program. There's like 60 of us in a call
yelling about this fight.
Imagine.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll figure it out. It'll be a ton of fun. But let's wrap up because we've been going for 3 hours, and we're all getting tired at this point. George Springer, again, he's out. Re-aggravated his, I believe it's quad injury. He's back on the 10-day IL, retroactive to Monday the 3rd. So, still, I guess, yeah, still up for what, another 6 days?
6 days or something like that.
Yeah. So out another 6 days. Is this something that the Jays should be worried about? And is this something that Jays fans should be worried about will become a trend with George Springer over his entire time with the Jays?
I don't think it's that serious yet. Because, like, I think this is more of like a precautionary thing. Like, they want to try and, like, end this thing right now before it gets worse. Because he was out with this injury, then he comes back, and he was healthy for a few games, and then he kind of tweaked something, and now they're just keeping him out as long as possible while it's still early in the season, early in his contract. I don't even think it's going to last past this year, hopefully. If it is that serious, you fix it in the off season. If it is that big, but I don't know if it will be. I've heard what Atkins and Shapiro have been saying. They don't seem that concerned about it. Montoya seems like he'll be back in a few days. Like, it's just a day-to-day thing right now. I wouldn't be too concerned about it if you're Jays Nation. It's not the ideal start, but I think it's going to get better.
Yeah. I kind of take the same viewpoint. I don't think it's a huge deal. I definitely think it's precautionary. And that's how a smart gym would or a smart manager would treat it. You know, that's how you get this star player, and you hate to see him out for the beginning of the season because you want him to start gelling with your guys. But you obviously, like Aiden said, you want to have him here later on in the season when it really starts to come down to it. And the only other thing that kind of rung a bell in my head was that it brought back memories of JD. And with his constant, I think he had a hamstring issue, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Wasn't it calf too?
Or maybe it was calf. It was something back there. Something along the back of his leg.
Calf issues. I remember the calf.
I knew he had lower body injuries or some sort of leg injury. Like, I saw that flash.
I turned on.
But that's the only thing. It kind of reminded me of a time when Josh Donaldson was out repeatedly, and that kind of scared me because I was like, okay, they bring in this star, and he's struggling with the leg injury, and he's on and off all the time now. So that kind of worried me a little bit because history repeats itself. But I do think it is just precautionary stuff.
Let's hope.
Let's hope. But with that, we've come to the end of the podcast, which leaves us with one thing to do, which we forgot to tell our guest about again. So apologies. But at the end of every show, we do a segment called Hot Takes, where we give a hot take on anything in sports. So any sort of insane opinion that you have about anything in sports. In the past, I predicted back in the first lockdown that the MLB would be the first sports league back, and they were promptly the last. Whereas Aiden literally predicted Mike Babcock getting fired in the next 2 weeks and then got fired in the next 2 weeks. So some of us are very right and some of us are very, very wrong, if you can get the gist of what I'm saying. I'm always wrong. But do either of you have anything prepared, anything in mind, anything you come up with?
I don't know, man.
That's tough. That's tough.
All right,
I'll give you a really far out one. More of a joke.
Okay.
Austin hits 50 goals.
Ooh.
This year?
This year.
8 games left, I think, right?
No, 3 games left. It was like 3 games left.
You never know. You never know. That man
might be the hottest take we've ever had.
No, oh, geez.
At the very least, I gave you something to laugh about.
Maybe a bit more better for you, and I'll give you the suggestion. McDavid hits 100.
I think that's much more likely. I think that's much more likely.
Yeah, geez.
Not as
50?
Not as incredible though if I call Matthews hitting 50.
No, that would be unbelievable, and you'd become like an all-time legend on this podcast if that is right. That'd be unreal.
It could happen, just hit him with the 4 again, and then
like the song.
Yeah, exactly like the song. Yeah.
4 and then 2 threes, 2 hat tricks. You got to get 3 hat tricks in 3 games.
It's been done.
Why not?
Maybe in the 80s. I don't know about it.
Or screw it. Just break the record and get like 10 goals in a game.
There you go. Aiden, do you have one or do you want me to go?
I don't have one.
All right, I'll go. We didn't
one.
talk about this on the podcast, but I did talk about it on my other podcast, the MLS Multiplex podcast. So we're going to get a little soccer in here. Obviously, Toronto FC, as we're recording, announced a signing in Kemar Lawrence, former New York Red Bull left back. But my prediction, or my hot take, new signing, designated player, Ryerson Sport, coming from Brazil, Venezuelan attacker, looks very promising, 5'2", very short guy. My prediction, he becomes a Toronto FC legend by the end of his contract and is a Canadian national by the time his contract ends, because I believe he signed a 5-year deal. I think it takes 5 years for you to be eligible for citizenship.
I believe it's 3.
3 years?
I believe it's 3.
Well, shows how much I know about the Canadian immigration system. Clearly need to refresh myself with that.
I may be wrong.
Who knows? Who cares? 3, 5, whatever. My prediction, Ryerson Sport is a Canadian citizen playing on the Canadian... Actually, no, he won't be. He'll be a Venezuelan. Canadian citizen, Toronto FC legend by the end of his time with Toronto FC. My prediction. Aiden, what is your hot take?
Okay. My hot take is that there will be a Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather 2 rematch.
Whoa!
Happening.
That's a good one.
After Logan either beats Mayweather or it ends in a tie.
If it ends in a draw, oh my God.
Yeah.
On the back of the KSI Logan tie, that would not go over well.
Money, right? Money. And who knows? This fight could be, is it rigged? I don't know. Money,
Probably, for being honest. Whatever. Either way, Stefano, thank you so much for coming on. We've taken up 3 hours of your
I think this is the longest. This was the longest one.
I loved every minute of it.
Yeah, this was so much fun. We actually had a ton of fun doing this. We'll get you on. Yeah, we'll get you on again for the Logan Paul, Floyd Mayweather stream or whatever. That'll be so much fun.
Love it. I love this idea.
It's unreal. All right. Plug all of the stuff you've got going on in your life right now. Social media is everything.
Social media is Superman, Suppa, Suppa, man.s.
good one.
Twitter is the same thing, Superman623. I got to get more involved on that with some hot takes. Those are the two big ones that I use.
Wait, it's Superman.s. That's your Instagram, at least.
Yeah, that's my Instagram. Yeah.
Okay.
And let me get you that link for
the doc.
the Marissa doc. That
Right.
was a lot of fun to make. That's the biggest thing I would say if people are going to watch.
All right.
Perfect.
So check the description for that. We'll have it linked below, as well as all his social medias. I'll make Aiden do extra work this week. Actually, you're doing less work than you usually do in terms of on that front. But all of Stefano's stuff will be linked down below. You can go click on that, follow him on everything, watch the doc. I haven't watched it, but I'm sure it's great because he makes good work. Keep an eye on him because maybe he does a radio show or a podcast this summer. We'll see if we've spawned another creation, another podcast renewal. But yeah, without further ado, keep an eye out on our socials. We'll be back probably with the live stream, maybe with another episode next week. Aiden and I will have to discuss that.
Yep.
But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. We will see you next week. Peace.